And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today we are joined by Shouldaville, a infamous YouTube Shorts content creator who puts out some of the most funniest shorts I've seen on Tarkov Shorts content sphere. Really cool guy. I asked him to come on the show, and he said, "Absolutely, I would love to. You guys are really awesome, and I love you so much, Church." I was dying to get on here. I was like, "Whoa, buddy, calm down, calm down."
Actually, I think I said that. I said, "No, I'm really excited to be on a call with Giga. Like that sounds really great."
Right. I got that confused.
Yeah, you flipped that.
But
dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of an impromptu cast. We just kind of both got, me and Giga got different stuff going on. He's going to a LAN party tomorrow, I believe.
Yep. So we've had a bunch of stuff going on. So for those who are listening, I don't know when it'll be, Monday or later. This one is actually being recorded on Wednesday the 17th. It's a little bit early, as Church said. I'm off to the Epic Lux LAN for slightly older gamers because there's hotel rooms and stuff like this. I know it's crazy. In 2022, all of us old timers are now getting the good treatment rather than going camping. So yeah, it's a little early. Not much has actually happened in EFT since then, but fortunately, we have someone much funnier than both of us, Shouldaville, here. So, I mean, Shouldaville, you may as well introduce yourself for our listeners, for people who may or may not know you.
Yeah, no worries. So I am a YouTuber and TikToker. I do mostly like short form, vertical content. I have done some longer form videos, but not my forte. Really just goofy content. That's it. It's kind of haphazard. There's no schedule. I don't stream. When I do, I gave you a 30-second notice kind of thing. So it's really just kind of, whatever. But it's primarily Tarkov content as well. And I've been playing Tarkov since, I think right before Reserve was dropped. I don't remember what patch that was. But that's when I started. I don't know how many wipes it's been. I know last time I gave a number, Church's chat absolutely like lambasted me. They're like, that's not the right number of wipes. You miscounted. I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just start saying when I started playing. So
yeah, that makes sense. That actually sounds like a very similar time to when I started playing. So as it probably doesn't surprise most people, I have a spreadsheet with various patch numbers and times and stuff because people keep asking me and I kept forgetting. So I started I bought the game on the 1st of May 2019, and I can't remember when did Reserve actually come. I'm not actually sure. I don't remember, but that was May. Yeah, that was a patch 11.7. So Reserve came like relatively quickly after that, so we probably started about the same time, I would think.
Okay, yeah, because that was it what, the patch right before they introduced the flea market, I believe. Like, I think I've only ever played since the flea market's been in the game.
Yeah, the flea market was already there when I joined.
Yeah.
So sounds like we're about the same time. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Do you find it freeing being kind of like a short form creator in some ways? Because like you can try more random stuff, and because it's so, I guess, quick to do, it's I've had a bit of a foray into TikTok and tried to do some stuff up there. It's like the lowest on my priority list. So like whenever I get busy with other stuff, it like drops off the bottom. But like whenever I get onto it and I have some funny stuff to put up, then I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So I was just intrigued from, you making that kind of stuff as your first and foremost, how you find it.
Yeah, I think honestly, it really is fantastic. I know there's a lot of people who don't care for it at all, whether it's just the like vertical format. I know some people really hate that, where you see people I get so many comments where like, how do you play this resolution? I'm like, you dork, like this is come on, you got to be able to critically think a little bit. Maybe I don't play on my phone, but I was talking to Church a little bit about this earlier this week too. Is it really does let you be very creative with your content because the time investment's so minimal. I can spend upwards, the max I put into something that I think I've ever put into a short was like an hour. And it was because I was trying to play around with zooming and reversing some of the motion tracking, just stuff where I was like, if this was a full video though, like the time investment is infinitely longer.
Yeah.
Right. And if to then have to be like, oh, I guess I got to scrap it. 1 hour of my time, not that big of a deal. But if you're dealing with something you've spent, oh goodness, I mean, some of these creators, I'm sure both of you have done it too, where you spend just like a full-time job, right? Where it's like, man, I spent 40 hours this week on one video of the 3 videos I have to get out next week, Yeah, they're super fun. Overall, they're just super fun.
Yeah, I think my little like fiddle around with it, because I've sort of like switched because I was like quite excited to do it, and then I ended up kind of being like, oh, it's actually taking a bit longer than I thought, and I wanted to do something every day, but then I was like, that's not really sensible. Like if you want to edit it too, and I found like trying to get the right music for such a short clip, because I end up being quite like attention to detail about it, because I'm like, oh, it's so short that I want to make it like really perfect. And as you say, I end up spending like an hour on it or something, and then I'm like, well, I want to get on to do something else. So I've ended up kind of flipping around. It's like, if there's a funny moment, I'm just gonna send it, and just see what happens. That's kind of the mode I'm in right now. But yeah, it is kind of weird. I've become a lot more disciplined with my editing, and it's not gameplay either. So because gameplay is like very open ended, you can do, as I'm sure you're aware, like Tulu type stuff, which takes forever. Or like a lot of the Rust guys or whatever, and there's some very basic, raid cuts which don't take that long. And mine, I've definitely got faster and more efficient because it's educational stuff. And it's actually funny, some of the videos that are kind of like easier technically are sort of end up becoming more complicated editing wise, because something like, I actually really hate doing the armor guides now at this point. It's like really weird because like, what do you put on the what do you put on the screen?
Right.
Like, what do you put on the screen? Like, yeah, you can put armors there.
Right.
It's not that interesting. The video is like 20 minutes long. Like it's like I've got 15 pictures for you in 20 minutes. Great. It's like it's just not very interesting. So you have to think of like, well, how do I like cut in some other clips and do some blurs, like motion, whatever, and then I end up with like pictures and diagrams and tables and all sorts of things. And I'm just like fiddling around with, I don't use After Effects really. So I'm just like 15 layers deep of pictures and arrows and pointers and circles. And I'm like, God, this is taking me forever for like no reason. So yeah, I've become a lot more disciplined in terms of trying not to spend like, 20 hours on like a single video. Cause yeah, it just starts to demolish your week if you do that.
Yeah. Well, and then too, if that you spend all that time on doesn't do well, or YouTube just decides like, I'm not going to recommend this one, and then you just get punched in the face. You don't have that kind of, and I understand that shorts run on a different algorithm, but you don't have that kind of commitment to, if one short bombs, but I thought it was funny, it's totally okay because I thought it was funny and it took me 20 minutes. So I'll try again tomorrow kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said to me that I should open up a GigaBeef like shorts YouTube channel and just put stuff there, because I've always been very like cagey about putting the stuff on my main channel. I feel like if you're primarily a long form person, I feel like it can get kind of cluttered. Not that anyone really cares, because like no one ever really visits your like profile page. Everyone just gets everything through recommended. But I'm still just like kind of like suspicious of it, and like I'm not really sure. I don't really trust YouTube, to not just fiddle with the algorithm and then just be like, oh, we're trying this thing. We're seeing how long form retention works with short form, and now your channel's dead. But like, you're one of a million creators, so whatever. Like, and they're never going to fix it, and your channel's dead forever. It's like, who knows? And maybe it works really well for one guy, and you're the unlucky guy, and it just blows everything that you're doing up. So I just don't really trust it. So, but I was thinking that someone said you should open up like a second channel just for shorts, just to see if you're posting on TikTok, you may as well post it there. Like, what harm can it do? So maybe I will at some point. I don't know. I'm not really sure. The algorithms are very bizarre.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to mention, is especially when it comes to the algorithm portion of it. What makes shorts really nice, and why, like, I feel like I would tell if somebody's going to start streaming or start making, if they want to make a YouTube channel, I would say start with shorts, because their algorithm is so, it's like a rocket ship. It's, you get 5 views, and then one video will do 100,000 views, and it pumps your channel to 500 subs. And it's like, I mean, everyone knows how hard that climb is just to get your first 50, your first 100. When you hit the 1,000, it's like, oh my goodness, never thought this day would come. Like, I've only been doing this a year, and I just crossed like the 20,000 threshold, which is awesome, especially because it's something that I can just do on the side of like my full-time job. But yeah, no, those algorithms are completely different. But if I put like a full 10-minute video on my channel, it gets like 100 views. It's like, I just wonder, how do those algorithms interact, especially when the YouTube partners that we work with will be like, they assure me that like they're totally different algorithms. They won't mess with each other. It's okay. And I'm like, well, but then I put something out and it bombs. What do you mean it doesn't? So there's clearly something else at play there.
Yeah, who really knows? It's very scary, and I don't know whether they always say exactly what's going on. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I mean, Church, you put out quite a few short things for airing at this point, I guess. Like,
yeah, dude. I really like. I've done like a 180 on shorts. I used to hate them, dude. I used to hate them. I didn't like the visual, like how you
consuming
view
them, or
but everything about them. I didn't like consuming them. You know, it's just like I mean, like it's kind of nice on your phone because it's YouTube, specifically YouTube. I haven't really dabbled too much in TikTok. Every time I do, I just get caught in like cat girl thirst traps every time. It's just my weakness, dude. What can I say?
it knows what you want. What can I say?
Yeah, that's totally normal. I definitely have. I've never seen that before. So we'll talk after, I guess. I know a nice therapist or priest. I don't know.
Oh my god! But no, but seriously, I just didn't like the format. Like if you watch a short on a desktop, you know, it's just like watching Tarkov and that vertical slice is kind of weird. Any gameplay stuff. But after a while, I got more used to it, and even editing the shorts, I was just like arrowing, dude. I don't know. These things like don't make any money. You know what I mean? They're not monetized, and you know, it's like okay, yeah, they get some views, but it's like what it doesn't really matter. But we started seeing a lot of growth in shorts as far as like people coming in this stream. Just being, hey, I haven't seen your shorts. I really love your content, you know, blah, 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 this and that, the other. And you get sort of like that. It's like a good way to feed people to other platforms, right? Like the Twitch is one example. But I really have liked, you know, some of the shorts that have popped off have just been like cut, send. And it's just like the content sometimes people, I don't know what, people just latch onto it. You know, like, oh, dude, the shorts is so crazy because I swear some of the ones that do the best is like Airing will like miss one or two shots and be like, bro, you missed. What are you doing? Your aim is so bad. What are you doing? Yo, bro, I could play this game so much better. I have like 9,000 hours. I got like 2D survival rate so much higher. It's like, dude, relax. You know, it's like, what's going on? But I swear, those when he gets a lot of those comments, I'm like, oh yeah, this short's gonna do really good. Dude, it's gonna do numbers.
What game is this? What game is this?
Yeah,
what game is this?
That's all the time, which is crazy because it's like, what? This is like getting seen by people that don't even consume Tarkov content. I would assume when they're asking what game this is. It's wild, man. I really like. So occasionally we'll do shorts where I'm like, okay, I can like get really creative with some things in here, and I'll sink some time to it. I have one story about one where I had this idea. He was on Factory. He had like a Alton on, and you know he's really juiced up, and he was fighting Giga, and he ends up meleeing Giga to death. I was like, oh, I could do like a funny cut with like John Cena, you know, like watch out, watch out, watch out. So when he hits it, it cuts to a different scene, like big glow bloom, and it's like I used some like WWE YouTube where they make stages in like a 3D engine and then post them on YouTube, and then I had Giga PMC gears, John Cena music playing, whatever. I spent probably like, I don't know, 8 hours in total on that short just for like that 10-second frame because I tried to get it perfect. And it absolutely bombed. It was terrible. And no one watched. No one cared. It was just awful. But I've had some shorts now where, you know, I've put more time into them. Not 10 hours, maybe more like 2 to get certain. I mean, part of it is just like rendering time to like get all these like cool slow-mo stuff, but and they've done pretty good, and I'm happy. And I really like it because I feel like I can like limit myself and be like, okay, I feel like this short, I don't need to do anything here. The content's like really top tier. Like this is gonna do really well no matter what. Whereas like here, I can like add a little something extra and maybe like boost it up, and I can like kind of get that, scratch that itch and do these like cool special effects. So I really like it, man. I think shorts is really great. Like the biggest thing is just getting people familiar with your brand. And if shorts ever does go like on YouTube, like they monetize fully. I mean, they have the shorts fund, which I would love to hear what your experience with all that's been like. But if they ever do monetize it, like play some type of short ads, I mean, you're already like ahead of the curve, and everyone will be trying to get in on the action. But
I think I actually saw a headline like super recently about a shorts ads.
Mm-hmm.
It might even have been. It was like really recent. I can't remember. I'm sure that must be their plan. I'm sure it must be their plan.
I would think so, right?
Yeah, because as you said, right now, from what I've seen, I mean, I haven't done any, so on YouTube anyway. But from what I've seen, they don't really do anything at the minute.
No, I'm pretty sure. Like, if let me pull one. I think this one's got like 400,000. Yeah, so it's got 400,000 views,
Wow.
hundreds, thousands and thousands and thousands of watch hours, and I made 4 cents. 4 whole cents, baby. So yeah, if you're, it's more about the brand recognition, like you said, Church. I wouldn't. I'm not about to quit my job to be a full-time shorts creator.
And go down to the local store and buy some bread with that brand recognition. It's real good stuff.
I can't even buy a gumball at the front of the store from the machines.
Oh man,
grief.
Yeah, it's funny, Church, what you were saying actually about the ones that you think do well. Like, I think the best TikTok that I did to date was basically someone gave me a viewer kit, and they would like they memed on me by they got me to kill them, but they dropped their bag first. So I killed them, and they had just like a Toz and a Ushanka, and I was like, oh no. And then they were like, oh no, but the real kit's in the bag, after I like ran around for like 30 seconds thinking I have to use this Toz kit. But then I just couldn't find it. And I was just like scrubbing around in the grass, just like unable to find this bag. And it's the best one of all time because the comment section is just like, look, streamers getting free stuff. Oh, isn't this RMT? Like the whole comment section was just full of people being just like, this guy needs to be banned immediately. Like it was so funny. And that one obviously just exploded because of all the interaction from people commenting like dumb stuff, which is was so weird. So you almost need to make kind of the most salacious, kind of controversial, hot take type content that you can to get people to disagree with you as venomously as possible in the comments to try and boost it up. That does actually, I don't know. It did occur to me. I was like, yeah.
No, that does work. I've definitely seen that on a couple of them. Like I've done. I did just goofy, here's a crummy clip of gameplay, but then I found a funny video online. And so I dropped that in there. And then that's what I'd been doing for a while. And then I switched to one where I gave like my opinion on something. And it was just immediately like, why'd you open your fucking mouth? Why, like, go back to doing funny stuff. And I'm like, listen, I think it was something about the flea market before they'd done like any of the RMT changes or what's the other stuff they've done? Whatever. It was about fleet changes. And then they did those anyway. So everyone who talked shit can eat it. I was right and you were wrong and PSG proved it. So shut up. No, but you do get very, very potent commenters with shorts and TikTok as compared to regular, I feel. But I don't know. Don't know what causes that or why, but.
Yeah, people are freaking ruthless on the internet, dude. They are like, dude, I don't like. I like to see the comments on some of the videos, like the shorts and stuff, or the ones that I put a lot of effort in. But like, dude, I swear, man, there's like an overwhelming amount of how do I say this compared to regular long form content on YouTube. The amount of like positive to negative ratio is. For shorts is like much more significant on the negative side. I don't know exactly why it should have said, but people are just like really fucking mean, dude. And it's like I was telling Shouldaville the other day, I feel really bad for like any shorts only short form content creator, because if that's like the standard, I mean, that's only been our experience with Team Airwing. I know about Giga. I know a little bit about Shouldaville, but if that's like the standard, then man, it is rough out there.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? It's because people on shorts are like less invested in the creator, and because they just like throw in random creators, right? So you're not necessarily like if you don't know of somebody long form, you probably just aren't seeing their videos ever. So it's so maybe it's something to do with that. Like there's the only kind of like extra take that I have from that is that when I start getting like dumb comments on my long form stuff, normally again I'm just like, oh man, this one's going to do good, because it's usually going out to people that don't normally watch my stuff, and I just like mean, because my regular viewers are very rarely mean. And so when I start getting mean comments, I'm just like, oh boy, this one's going to be a good one, because it's clearly going out to other people. And I have had, and this is quite rare on the long form side as far as I understand, I have had a couple of people say either what game is this, or like I don't even have Tarkov, why have I been recommended this video? Or I don't even own the game, but I'm just obsessed with watching videos about it, which is quite funny. I quite enjoy that one. They're like, I don't think I'm ever going to play this game, but the weapons modding, just like, I'm just addicted to like watching videos about people modding weapons. They don't even own the game. But yeah, when you see those mean comments coming in on the long form side, like you're in for a good one. You're in for a good one.
Speaking of controversial stuff, I know earlier we were talking how sometimes that can get more engagement, if you will. Where do you get off at, Shouldaville? Where do you get off at? Okay. When did you first find out that you were a scumbag? I've seen you extract Camp D2 on your shorts. Okay, what's wrong with you?
Listen, you don't even say that's only one. I put up one clip of the 50 raids I'm camping D2 because I need to get the most kills and impact. Dude, I don't know. People, I think it was at some point in the beginning. I actually think it was probably my third or fourth video. I was doing Shooterborn on Shoreline, and it might have been near Passage Between the Rocks when the green flare was up, but it's because it's like one of the most reliable open air shooting ranges, basically. And I killed some guy, and I just remember it was just a flood of comments. They're like, "You're extract camping, you're extract camping, you're extract camping." And after getting more involved with other content creators and watching their content and kind of chatting with them on stream and seeing those, like, the first time chatters that come in with just the most brain dead take, or like they're like, "Well, I can't believe why are you standing there for 3 seconds? Like, oh, why didn't you W key?" Like, I've never seen a community be able to be so upset by the content that is within the game. It's like there's all these superficial rules within Tarkov where it's like, well, you can't be too near the extract, 50 meters back. Or it's like, oh, if you use an impact grenade versus an M67, you're scum, and the list goes on. I mean, I'm sure you guys can think of a 1,000 other, oh, were you behind a bush? Like, you stopped moving. You might as well not even have whatever that tweet was. Like, might as well unplug your keyboard. Because
oh my God, bro. Anyway. You didn't alert me you were camping in the corner? Bro, that's cringe, bro. That's really cringe. That's really
no ratting. No ratting.
No ratting. Oh, yeah, man. I can't believe that's what I forgot. It's like, yeah, that rats versus Chads mentality. I love General Sam to death. I think he's hilarious, but oh, that is the most cursed video that ever could have been dropped into this game. It's like the rats versus Chads, because some people have put their whole personality around it, whether they're just a normal player or a streamer. Like, they've just fully become, either the rat or the Chad, and they just talk about it all the time. Ugh.
Yeah, I can't. It's difficult to think of another piece of content, event, or anything else that had more of an impact on the game than that single video.
It's amazing, actually.
And it seems like it was such an arbitrary thing for people. Like, the video comes off as a joke. Everything about how General Sam's plays is a joke, and it's hilarious, and it's amazing. And somehow, like, I can just see it. There's like this 13-year-old kid sitting at his desk 2 years ago, and he's like, yeah, rats and fucking Chads, and I am a Chad. And now he's put TV in his name, and he's got like 40 viewers. He's calling everybody like, you're a rat, like, it's just a spiral, man.
Yeah, I think he tapped into some kind of fundamental truth. I think that it must have been it.
Exactly.
It's that it already existed. People just needed a label, and General Sam gave the people a label printer. That's what happened. Yeah, dude, it's I love Sam's stuff. Honestly, it's so funny. Like, the exit camping one as well. It's just like actual comedy gold. Oh my God!
And I love what
he
that
definitely
did.
changes the game for the worse.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No. I was trying to cut you off, so but you didn't take that. No, I'm just kidding. but I was really happy what that did for Exfil Camper's career. I know his numbers shot up after that, and he's done really well. But I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever watched his streams, but he has a great chat room because all he does. Oh, well then great. So like because he only extract camps, right? His chat room is hilarious, and so I enjoy the counter to the norm of how like Tarkov is quote supposed to be played, right? And he doesn't play it like it's supposed to be played, as they say. Just good. I think it's good for the game overall.
Yeah, for sure. Because he is like his stream is like. You could label it as just chatting, and it would it would be just as accurate, right? And that's the thing. It's just like shenanigans and stupid stuff because I don't know. It's just Tarkov just happens to be running in the background while he's either memeing with his posse or just like it's such a different vibe. It's such a different vibe. But there's something about it that I wouldn't say I'm a regular, but I have popped in every now and then, and just it's I just kind of wanted to see. I think it was when, because it's not been a massive topic. Exfil camping, I think, is just something that at the moment it's just like murmuring under the surface.
Yeah.
And at some stages, it's like blows up into this huge issue every now and then. And I can't remember. I actually can't remember now. I'm trying to think back. There was a point at which people were like putting bounties on each other? I think it was like a half joke. Do you remember this? It was all over the Reddit. This is a long time ago. This is like maybe 2 years ago. And people like trying to get people to like kill the infamous Exfil campers, and it just made them like really popular. And then the streams were really big. So I think it was just because I went on the front page of Twitch and I was like, oh, there he is. So I just like went in to go and check him out. That was kind of the first time when I went to go and have a look at his stream. So yeah, it's wild, really. It's wild. Any publicity is good publicity kind of mentality.
Sure.
Wasn't that back? Because you used to be able to buy people's dog tags on the fleet too with those bounties. I remember my first wipe. I saved up all my rubles to buy an Aqua FPS dog tag, and then realized I was just poor with an Aqua FPS dog tag, and I was like, "This is so stupid. Why did I just pay all my money on my first wipe?" Oh, such a dweeb. What did I do? But
the memes, love it.
But I think I'm sorry.
No. Go for it.
No, to your point about Exfil camping, I was just gonna. I just find it is very interesting how cyclical the conversations around Tarkov are. Whether it's you move from it's cheaters are so bad, and then you move to what's the next one in the cycle? It's probably my raids are all dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, I still don't think we've quite moved into the like M62 BP every raid yet. We're not quite
it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. We're not quite there yet, though. The lock behind Grenadier has done some of the work, I think, because people are just allergic to crafting ammo in the hideout. I actually looked at it the other day, and I think that the craft for BP, I actually think it's a fair price when I looked earlier, because it's like 1,300 from Prapor or something.
Yeah.
And I think if you craft it, it's like 950, something like that. And then you take into account the fact that you can't, like, you have to do it overnight because it takes ages. But then you can't do one of the other crafts. So then you have to add the fixed amount that you would have got from that and divide it by 120 and add that back on. And it's about 350 of opportunity cost. So it ends up being about the right, I think it's about the right price. It's kind of the same as buying it from Prapor and continuing to do like wires or green powder or whatever. It's like, it is very, very roughly the same. But people are allergic to having like 15 hours in my hideout. Oh, it's like people will not buy it until they have it unlocked from Prapor. So I do think that the Grenadier thing has changed it a little bit, because people really hated that quest quite a bit. Probably for good. Have you got? You must have all completed it now. I would have thought. I only did it last stream. You haven't done it yet, Church?
No, I was gonna do it. I was gonna do a pre-stream, but I got caught up in some editing. I need like 7 or 8 more grenade kills. I haven't done any on factory, but that was the plan, to go factory and get that unlocked and level up to.
You didn't do any on factory yet?
No, I've gotten like 5 with F1s or whatever grenades I had at the time.
That's impressive. I have precisely no grenade kills at all, because this wipe I haven't brought in any. So it's kind of difficult to get any, when you don't ever bring them in.
Yeah, that does make it difficult. But,
it does.
I did see you trying with the impact grenade last week. I saw there were a couple mishaps too. Couple self kills, a couple grenades.
We had a few problems. We had a few problems here and there. God, the stream, which one would it have been? I guess it was Monday. Oh my goodness. Monday night was an absolute travesty. The first stream to come back after a week of being away, and I'm just like, right, let's get back into impact kills. Honestly, I was so rusty. It was so bad. I was playing, I think I did interchange for like a daily or something, and I was sat there with chat saying like, have you ever been like, because I've been playing like quite a lot more relative to what I was previously, and like pretty much every day. Like after taking the first week off since this wipe has begun, I was like, you ever like come back after a big break and you're sat in front of the monitor and you're just yourself sat in your room pressing buttons, and there's a 2D screen in front of you with the game running, and like I'm so like disconnected from the game. Like I'm not ready to fight anybody. I feel like my character is a completely separate person to me. I was like, I don't really know how to describe this, because when you're playing, you're just in that like flow state of playing, and you've got your muscle memory, and like you're in the monitor. The monitor is all you can see. You're just consumed by the game. But like the first couple of raids back, man, honestly, it was rough. I was just like, it's just me sitting in the room and like I'm tapping this plastic keyboard, you know, it's just like if everything feels wrong, like it feels weird. It's like I'm trying to use my PMC through like 2 really long chopsticks. Like it's just everything was broken. And that was the moment I decided, yeah, let's do some impact kills on factory. And yeah, basically just wasted all the impacts that I bought from Prapor and blew myself up, blew up the wall, managed to throw them at such a short range. Apparently the 0.3 detonation to save you from dying is really quite long in factory. And there were a couple of unfortunate occasions where, well, the problem is, right, this is now a rant about impacts. If you manage to trigger that 0.3 delay, so you hit a wall within 0.3 of a second, it then takes 3.5 seconds to go off, like an F1 or an RGD. That is altogether too long for factory when you're fighting somebody in CQB. There's not a universe in which you want to have 3.5 seconds before the nade goes off. After the 0.3 where it landed in the first place, so it's actually probably something more like 3.7. So you're sort of sat there going like, do I kill the guy? Do I wait? Like he's shooting at me, but I don't want to kill him with a shotgun. I want to kill him with the grenade. And then the grenade goes off and you die, and you're like, oh man, this is the absolute worst. So yeah, so that was pretty bad. And then the following stream just like did it in 2 rounds. I only needed 2 kills. I had like 10 already from doing it previously. Just like didn't get any. And then the following one was just like first raid, bam, second raid, bam. It's like easy. Okay, we're back in it now. Back in it. But yeah, I think it's by far the most effective way to do it. Just simply because you can pull the pin out and hold it.
Yeah,
and you don't lose any
sprint
stamina.
around. It's
like having the GL kind of thing.
Right.
Very similar.
That actually blew my mind. I didn't know it was watching you. I think it was on Monday because that was when you'd missed a couple. But I didn't know you could sprint while you were holding it pinned. That was a game changer for me. That's absolutely disgusting that you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually so many people that have said that. Like, I might even do a video on it and just be just like, it's going to be like 1.5 minutes long and be just like, here's how you complete it. Get to Prapor 4, buy the 2 nades, hold it in your hand, run around and throw.
Yeah.
There you go. Jobs are good and run around a factory until you do it. Yeah, there's so many people that are like, I did not know that you could do this. And the fact that you don't lose any arm stamina or anything means you can just run around infinitely until it's a bit awkward holding down the button the whole time. And you can put the pin back in too. You can press your weapon button and you put the pin back in and then you get your gun back out. Like it's not a one and done. It's not like the samurai draws the blade and needs to have blood before it goes back in. You know, you can put the nade away. It's good. It's good. But,
yeah, I definitely feel like they should change that. Like you can hold a grenade infinitely. I mean, I guess like to be fair, it's not like a same state as how the weapons work. Like when you ADS, it's in a different state. You're not like ADSing with a grenade and like lining it up like, yes, you know what I mean? It's like he's got it, in the hip fire state, if you will. But I still think it's a little silly. You can just literally just do this one hand up. I don't know what the left hand's for. If it's like maybe that's the ADS. You just look between your index finger and middle finger, like, I got him in my sight, or whatever. But it seems like something they should maybe address. But
if they're gonna let me magically buff my armor, I'm gonna hold that damn grenade up as long as I want, Church. Don't you start with me.
We're going there, are we? All right. All right.
50% health reduction. I can hold the dang grenade up. Don't you dare start with me with that, I swear.
So any hot takes from you, Shouldaville? I mean, I know you're dying to let me know.
Are you leading? Are you trying to lead a questions or something you want? You want to talk about?
No, nothing going on here. No leading questions or anything.
All right, listen. I didn't hear what you guys talked about last week regarding these 2 things, so I know this is going to be a little redundant.
Okay.
First thing, getting shot and falling over. I pray, dear Nikita, put that on the ETS first, please. Yes. I've got this horrible feeling. I don't know what it is. Something about in my head from player control, but I really want to test that. But I do think the armor buffs just seem to be absurd. Like the way it was demonstrated when they repaired the slick with the weapon repair kit. It was like 50%. It could have just been wording, man. It could have just been bad wording. Yeah. But like 50% damage reduction. Like,
throw that junk on ETS while we're at it as well.
Yeah,
that needs to be.
I think that's
a little
scary. Please, I wish they would just use those ETS servers more. There's so much cool, goofy stuff you could test. Maybe just cut the damage of BP in half. or cut the pen. Like, and just we're not going to put it on live. Like, let's just do these radical changes.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like that anytime people talk about like, oh, just put it on ETS and do the testing or whatever, I just get like horrible shivers because I just feel like ETS. I just can't see ETS working the same way as the usual regular live servers, right? It's like they're like, oh, we put the full down mechanic in ETS, and then 3 people test it half-heartedly for like half an hour, and they're like, we brought it to live and it absolutely sucks. And everyone's like, why would you do this? And they're like, well, we tested it on ETS. There were no complaints there. And it's just like, yeah, no, because no one plays it because there's no incentive to play the game there. Nobody plays it like they do the regular game. Why would they? Like, ETS scares me a bit, actually. Like, I used to think it was a really good idea, but now it just terrifies me. And I think it's almost a scapegoat for like, well, we tested it with the community and now it's been released. Well, it's your fault. You know, it's the ETS testers' fault. It's not our fault because we put it out to ETS. Not our fault that no one played it. You know, it's just...
I really
wish
they would let content creators make content from it, because like, I don't know, it's just not very incentivizing for a content creator to play ETS. I'm sure some do and they probably give their feedback, but like if you could actually, you know, be like, hey, here's the system, because you guys remember Inertia 1.0. For me it was like really fucking jarring, dude, and we know it was on ETS. It wasn't like, it wasn't bad, but I wouldn't say it wasn't like spot on either, you know. And I'm like scared to know what was the previous iterations of that, if there was any, you know.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't actually. I'm trying to think. Like, what does that NDA say?
Yeah, be careful now.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna. Yes, I think if I recall, there were previous iterations of Inertia that were worse, but I don't know. I guess the specifics around it, I don't really. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much you can say, but I agree. I think overall, I do wish it was more utilized, but there are actually players who main ETS. Like, they don't play Tarkov unless the ETS is up. Because you see them just all in the Discord, in the ETS Discord. That's like their game. That's all they play is ETS when it comes to Tarkov, because there's less PvP, etc.
Okay, that's weird. I was thinking like they're just weird. Like super fans. Like, I'm so dedicated to testing out the new content. No, there's okay. All right,
no,
gotcha. Those like, guys.
I do wish it because if we take the argument of like ETS is kind of junk, because like you said, it could be junk where there's only 3 people that test something, they move it to live, and then give it the stamp of like community approves. Totally hear that, and I think that argument is probably very valid. I just wish then they used the actual servers, like our live servers, and it like maybe move stuff around more, utilize our feedback a little bit faster. I mean, I don't even know where most people stand with like the recoil changes that still feel kind of imbalanced and make some guns feel weird. And I'm not an advocate for like, give me back my my laser beam HK. Like I'm more of like, hey, maybe we make these recoil numbers matter or mean something, or make them understandable to the common player. Maybe we make more inertia changes just for like 2 weeks on live servers, and if it's horrible or made it worse, we revert them. I think those are the kind of things I want to see if we're truly using the it's a beta argument. Like, man, let's test some damn stuff, because right now I feel like I'm just waiting. Like, I don't know what I'm testing right now. If this is a beta, I don't know what I'm testing this wipe. I'm testing my patience with the liking. No, I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean. But it's just like, it's goofy.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna interject real quick. It's just like, I guess BSG just got so much technical debt. I mean, there's a lot of like, I was listening to Veritas. He put out a video in response to the Tarkov TV where they killed Steam Audio, and I was like, dang, dude. Just watching him go through that experience of like, we are removing Steam Audio, and he's just like dying on the inside. That was funny, but he did bring up a good point, how like they, there's things going on in the world that's affecting that studio and where they're located, and them getting, they in theory could have like infinite resources, like monetarily speaking, but they may not be able to get new devs. You know what I mean? Right. I don't know if they're outsourcing people now or not. My understanding is they wanted to keep everyone within their location, but anyways, I thought that was an interesting point, because I just feel like they got so much limited resources in terms of like devs and whatever, and they're just like, oh my god, we got to get streets done by the end of this year. and it's like their debt is so high that I'm speculating they just don't have capacity to do like these tests or like these balance changes or these things like that. I mean, I don't know. It's all speculation, of course. But you were gonna say something, Giga?
Me? Oh, I do even remember now. I'm not sure. No, it's just it's a tricky one. I don't know. I also listened to some of what he was talking about as well with that, but I'm sort of in agreement with him that if they're under the cosh or whatever, then throwing out Steam Audio and like redoing everything doesn't seem to be a good solution to the problem, unless there is something more fundamental at play, as you say, that means that they're like not able to access further editions of it, or they will not work with them anymore, or something like that, right? Which maybe that's true, maybe that's the case, and I'm sure they won't say anything about it. So it's what they've said they're going to do. I just hope it doesn't end up reverting back to the base audio because they don't have any time and they just leave it like that, right? And then that's ship it with the base Tarkov audio without binaural. Okay. God, I do sometimes. I do, I do feel for V, because I was like browsing through the Reddit post about Steam Audio, and I nearly had an aneurysm reading some of the comments. Like, oh my god! Like, there was like one section where some dude was just like, "It's been removed in 12.12.30," and someone else was like, "No, it hasn't. What are you on about?" And the guy's like, "I just checked again. It's not there anymore, right?" And he posted this screenshot, and the dude was like, "You do realize that binaural audio is Steam Audio. You have it checked on in the screenshot that you've sent me as proof that it has been removed from the game." And I was like, I have to close Reddit right now before I have a nervous breakdown. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people misunderstand what's going on even at a very basic level, but I don't know. It just makes me sad that that's going to go away, because Steam Audio for me, even like this is like way before, and this is not some kind of like figured it out or anything. It's just when I used both systems, it seemed way better to me right at the beginning in terms of locating people. And it used to be scuffed for grenades when I first used Steam Audio, but I've used it ever since it was in the game, and for me, it's always felt pretty good. So I'll be very sad if they end up having to just remove it and go back to the base. And I just don't know what their alternative is. Like, yeah, maybe they clean up the base system and use that and make it a bit better, but. Like, dude, it's rough.
If they could just fix the vertical audio, then I could probably stand the base system, because it's the problem with the base system is you can't distinguish vertical audio at all, and because of the occlusion zones, when you go upstairs, you just don't hear anything. But like, in my opinion, the directional isn't as good. Like, you only get one. I don't know. It's been a while since I played on it, and what basically it boils down to on the old audio was, I hear something, let me turn towards the source, like let me scan my character till the sound source is playing in both speakers, and then I know that he's either directly in front of me or directly behind me. So to now distinguish that, I got to scan left or right to get it to like balance out to the right. So if I turn left and it's more on the right side, I know he's in front of me. Whereas if I turned left and it's more on the left side, I don't know. I've done confused myself. And then
I know what you mean.
And then the layer on top of that is like, you hear someone, it sounds like they're right in front of you, but there's a floor above you and below you, so you don't know where they are. So you have to like, you just run blind basically. You hear someone like they're right in front of you, you just run. It's like, eventually I'll see them, and then you don't see them. You're like, okay, I guess I go 50-50, either upstairs or downstairs. It's just, it's an awful experience. And it's like, that's where like the Shift W gameplay comes in, because you're also experiencing that, and the other person is also experiencing that. And that's usually what happens, is like, you're both either shift diving each other, or one guy is just like stop moving and like, just like sitting in the middle hallway because he's hearing like ghost footsteps. He's like, oh my god, where are they? I don't know. Is he above or below? It's just like, it's a crap experience. But if they can make that, the occlusion zones work a little bit better, where horizontal is not terrible, I could like kind of, drink the Kool-Aid a bit. I'll take a swig or two, until they improve it. But I mean, Steam Audio is just miles ahead of whatever the old one was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I still have vertical problems with Steam Audio. I mean, that's being layered upon the terrible base and the occlusion
Right.
anyway. So I still, if I'm in interchange, I can't tell if someone's in the basement or they're on the main floor or whatever. But like, it's exactly that thing of doing the whole like turning their head. Like, I don't need to do that on Steam Audio. I can tell if they're in front of me or behind me, just because of this. Because like, well, I think is the first module is like the HRTF. I think is the first module anyway, which is the one that we have. And so you can kind of tell, at least I can, whether it's in front or back without doing the whole like. Well, you have to do on the base audio, which is just like, I don't want to go back to that really. But yeah, I mean, the vertical's still scuffed on Steam Audio, so it's better, but it's certainly not,
at least it sounds different when they're above you. Like if you do get the sound cue, because of the occlusion zones, then it does have like a different EQ profile. But yeah, I mean that's the whole thing is like if they could just tweak those occlusion zones, I mean that I don't know. I won't go down because I think Veritas is like beating this topic to death. So
yeah.
Anywho,
falling over though.
Yeah,
man. Okay. Did either have you ever one more time? Have either of you ever played Rainbow Six Siege by chance? Okay.
No.
All right. There's a character in the game. She can deploy little explosives that airburst. So if you get near it, it's like a claymore, and your character falls over for like 2 seconds, and then they have to stand back up, and there's this whole animation. I am nervous. It is going to be something like that, where you are hit, and there's essentially a debuff timer and an animation playing, where it's like you lose player control until he completes the stand-up animation.
Okay, yeah.
Does the couple grunts. And then then you're back in control, because I think about how many times I've just been running, granted, like an idiot on shoreline, kind of out in the open. You get that first snap and your legs like broken and you're hobbling. You're like, and that's it. And that's the game. It's going to be like that kind of experience. But now it could be, I shouldn't say it will be. I don't know. If it was something that bad, that drastic, then I'm nervous that it's like the shotgun guy in the bush that I'm already getting annoyed with this wipe. He shotguns me once the first time and I'm laying on my ass. He's just giggling, blasting me while I'm laying down. But I don't know. I heard Veritas's argument on it too, where he thought it could be a cool thing that actually ends up saving your life, right? You go down and it gives you opportunity to roll and get to cover. Who knows? I'm just not a big proponent of things that take player control, especially in a game as like Tarkov.
Well, if you still have some agency or like player control, then that's the thing. Is like I'm not really opposed, or I think it's kind of cool, but like it's all in the details, as you're basically saying. Is like if you take complete player agency of me, it's just going to be really frustrating. Because like you're just stuck in animation. You're like, well, I guess I'll just sit here and roll around flailing on the ground until my PMC gets up, and I'll just pray he doesn't continue shooting at me. You know what I mean? It just that would be like the worst, the darkest timeline, dare I say. We'll see. ETS copium with that shit up there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can't wait to test that with me and Phil, the only other guy on ETS.
Yeah, I can just imagine a scenario where it's just Magnum Buck is just everywhere now, because it's just bam, the first one, and second one you're on the floor and you can't move or whatever. Like a very simplistic approach would probably be the best one to start with, I think, if they really wanted to do that, where it just throws you into prone, for example, because I could see that not being, all of the normal debuffs that you get now when you get shot, whatever, but it just throws you into prone instead. I was thinking that, if you're out in a field, I guess you're less likely to be shot. You could be shot in the leg, though, by an MDR or something, and then you die. But I was also trying to think in factory. Going prone's kind of strong in some ways. You're still probably going to die, but I didn't kill a guy the other day because he went prone. I thought I killed him, and then I ran away. I was like, and the chat was like, he's still alive. Like 5 seconds later, I was like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. But he just lay down. And I thought I'd shot him and killed him. So sometimes it's quite difficult to, especially if it made you go like auto prone in a bush where you can't do that normally. Maybe. But if you're running and it like throws you forwards into prone, it could be okay. I just think like it's got 99% chance of being incredibly annoying and you just die immediately afterwards. That's just my gut feeling, is that unless it's done with extraordinary skill and precision and balance and testing recursively with the community, a deep partnership between players and the developers, Without that, it's going to be a magnum buck to the leg twice, and you're going to die because you're going to be on the floor. I just think that's going to be the way.
No, but they did all that testing with like inertia, the weight system. I remember like we were all very involved in those, right? Wasn't that we all had a lot of hands-on time testing? No, I just think
a lot of hands-on time testing the weight reduction to 20 kilos. That was really, really good.
Somebody needs to buy Jesse. Jesse gives him a medal. I think he has the lowest or the greatest disparity in strength and endurance. I don't know if you guys saw his tweet.
That's
he
insane.
Just hit elite strength and he has level 9 endurance.
That's insane, dude.
I have no idea what he's done to achieve that.
That's insane.
So, but I'm with you where it's like I think as long as the feature's super cool and it adds something to the game and it's well tested, I'm all for it. I know he did mention what they were talking about, like the ragdoll animations in tandem with that. So maybe that was unconscious state. I should probably shut my mouth. Somebody's gonna quote me.
No, you're good. Keep talking. We won't quote mine or anything.
Yeah. No, it's actually you, Church. You're the one I'm actually worried about. It's explicitly you. But anyway, yeah. I don't know. Man, I just like cool stuff in video games. That's all.
Ragdolling off the edge of the, into the water on customs or something. You're just like, down you go, straight into the water, and you get back up, but you're now stuck. You're like ragdolled off the edge.
Yeah. All those streetborne spots. You're up on the scav or sniper rock trying to get those done. You get ragdolled. Oh, I could just. Yeah. There can be some goofy stuff coming.
God, it would be so bad if you had like no way to like unragdoll yourself. You're just like every like tiny little slope you're just ragdolling down and you're just like hands off the keyboard just waiting. God, that'd be awful.
All the way down the mountain. God, you just suddenly reminded me of just the terror of when you jump up one of the rocks on Lighthouse and it's just like and you just start to do the slide up. Bad. And I'd already killed one of the rogues, and I was like, no. As I like crest over the hill, just into full view, and you just hear the machine gun starting up. I'm just like, no, get me back into cover. Like you just can't move or anything. It's like this awful dream where you just, you're being propelled against your will. Oh man, it's bad. Yeah, if it feels something like that, it'll be bad. But we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll integrate it into these new ragdoll mechanics and that kind of stuff, and it will feel natural. Maybe it's going to be not a very high chance. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it has to be like actually like black your leg and break it or something. Yeah. Otherwise you won't fall or something like that. So maybe it'll be okay. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be such a small chance of it happening that we just won't notice and it'll be fine. A bit like the malfunction system.
I did think it was interesting watching. Is his name Demirka? Am I saying that right? Demirka? Yeah.
Demirka? Yeah. I think so.
I did think it was interesting watching him play because when they were doing the cast, because I mean Veritas brought this up again in his video. I'm referencing this video again. He mentioned it was going to be interesting watching him play. I was like, oh yeah, I never really thought about that. And just kind of seeing him like just sprint around, like on construction and customs, there's like the break in the wall or there's a bush. Mm-hmm. And he just like jumps and like flies through it because that's like the emergent player behavior, and he was doing it too. It's just like, oh my god, this is just like, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting because it's like that's probably not what you guys intended to happen there, but okay, it's just interesting.
Yeah, it's like all the footage, isn't it? From when people are like walking around, check mag and like creep through the bush or whatever. It's just like the reality, like power leap through the bush into the next section, just full on COD, like run up that barricade bit, like onto the tops of these containers. It's just like it's totally different. I just find it so funny because the community will just dissolve the game down to its lowest common denominator of what works and what doesn't work, and it's actually quite a fascinating process of fact finding and sort of discovering the most efficient path through to play the game, that kind of thing. It's good, and that's what the tests are for, right? It's to try and get us to that point. Have you guys been fiddling around with like the changes they made? Because I did actually go and recheck the change that Church was talking about last week that I hadn't realized because I hadn't actually played it yet, which was the crouch speed has now gone back to normal. But I don't know. I feel like we're kind of getting there with the movement mechanics, like broadly speaking. Yeah. I don't think it's too bad. I think it's all right. Like this, now that we've had like a good amount of time to play with inertia and get to sort of some sort of semi decent levels, I think I'm starting to feel like it's okay. Like I could play with this level of inertia, I think, from now on. I don't know what you guys think about it.
Shouldaville, go ahead.
Oh no, it was weird last wipe with the way that the elite strength worked, right? You could very quickly skill out of inertia. So by the end of the, halfway through the wipe, I'm like, wow, of course this is great because you weigh, 10 kilos because your armor, your guns, nothing counts. But no, this wipe, I actually really like inertia. I think it's in a cool spot. Yeah, I definitely don't have as many complaints as I know some other people have where they just don't care for it. It's not their, it's not my Tarkov, it's just the thing that they really like. But I'm a big proponent of slowing the game down. I mean, it's funny. I like to feel that I'm like, okay, this game, like I can do pretty good. But then, I'll go into labs every once in a while, and man, yeah, I'm so outclassed. Where it's like, you have these guys who have boiled this map down to, it's like there's these certain alleys that if I ADS, I can see all the way down into red, and it's like 150 meter shot on labs. It's just that is not my style of gameplay. I'm much more of like the you want to play it more like a, I don't know, like a Ready or Not, a little bit faster than that kind of thing, where it's like it feels like this immersive, crazy military shooter. Yeah, I actually feel like this is the first wipe where I've been like, yeah, it's in a good spot. I do feel like it's in a really good spot. Inertia didn't make me throw up the first day like it did last wipe, where you're like, why? I'm this trained soldier and I can't lift my foot. Like I'm struggling. That's the only other, I guess that's the last piece of movement I need. Is like, man, if there's a branch in the woods, pick up your damn foot. It's like, stop getting stuck on this silly little stuff. If there's a bag on the floor, it's a trash bag. Step over it. That's the last thing. Then I'll be like, I really think we're in a pretty okay spot. But
yeah, I think he did say about vaulting, didn't he? Did he say that vaulting was still
I think he mentioned
planned?
it, yeah.
Which, yeah, it'd be useful, or at least just like tweak it a little bit, right? So that you can walk over some of the smaller steps and things like that. If they did actually put some sort of vaulting type mechanic in, that would be really cool. I remember back when I first started playing PUBG and they didn't have vaulting. And then relatively quickly they were like, oh, we're like adding vaulting in the game. And then they did. And it was like, okay, it's actually a real game changer. Like it makes a big difference. And I think even though it's probably harder in Tarkov, just because of the density of the maps and the complexity of the landscape, it would make a really big difference, partly because of that, right? Because the landscape's so complicated, because it's so dense, because there's so many bushes, twigs, like buildings to vault through windows and leap into, whatever. It's so clumsy right now. People doing like arcadey platformer type, like run up the trash bags and then you press the button just at this point. Or I love that they even changed, they've got the portal type things where there's the one lean view. And it used to be off the car edge of the thing. And now they've changed it a bit. So it's actually a bit easier to do. So it's like, well, so many people are doing it, but it's less like a skill shot now. Which is like, yeah, again, it's like not really the way the game should be. You should, if you can get over, you should be able to get over in a realistic way. You need your level 32 strength, and then you need to be pixel perfect on this particular jump. It's like some kind of speed run or something.
Right.
It's nuts. So so if they can add that and change that a little bit, then that would be good. I agree with you, actually. That would make sense. But yeah, the rest of it felt pretty good. Like if day one felt way better than day one last time. And even now where they've toned down like regular inertia, but then increased the lean inertia, that actually still feels decent to me. And then with these like latest tweaks that they've made, they've kept like the circle peak inertia thing in. That's still in the game for now. So you can still do the transfer momentum from A to D via the W and S keys, which again, it doesn't feel busted. It's you have to kind of be concentrating on it, but it's a quicker way of doing it than doing the regular one. So I don't know whether they're going to get rid of that eventually. I hope not, because it feels so smooth. It feels so smooth. But yeah, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. I think they've actually done an okay job on it. I just wish that they had done more of these iterations. I don't know why it needed to wait all the way until 12:30 to do it. Why do they need to wait the whole of 12:12 for making any changes? It's what you were saying before, right? Like, why can't we have a 2-week change where they say, oh, we're going to reduce the acceleration stats to this, and then they go, oh, everyone hates this, we'll change it back. That's kind of the point. It's like, I don't like it when BSG sort of acts scared of changing stuff in their games. Like, we're supposed to be testing it. You've now got the ETS, which is like the beta to the beta.
Right.
but then nobody uses it. It's like we're now into like Inception level beta testing. Like what's even going on? You know, just be courageous. People are going to mold whatever you do, so you may as well just put out some like real goofy, kooky stuff.
And on the exact flip of that, I just wish there was also some stuff like at the beginning of the wipe. I wish, the choice was already changed, so it didn't drop from whatever it was, like a mil XP to like, or maybe it was 600, whatever. They had to split it up, or like removing the RD from the flea market. Like I wish there was a lot of stuff that day one had been done just to kind of, I don't know, make it feel a little bit cleaner, I guess. I don't know. Those are some of the changes that I wish, like right off the bat, like I wish we could have caught some of those. With this big move to 12.12.3 or whatever, I think.
.31, I think. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Church, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Yeah, you need to get it down to the like 10th, 100th of the decimal. Come on.
Sorry.
No, I don't know, guys. It's like I really miss my Dota 2 days. You know, me and Giga, we've talked about this, but there was always like 6 months in, or maybe it was like every year they would do like a major patch, like just like the game was completely changed, and then they're like, okay, we went a little overboard. In 2 weeks to do like a 7.31a, 7.31b. They come out with these little iterations where they like bring stuff a little bit more in line, and it was like great, dude. Like that first 3-month period of Dota 2 is just like, all in fascination. And then you got the next update and so on and so on. And it was great. They just constantly able to tweak stuff, and it was always changing. It was such a fun experience to have that sort of like live game. Because Tarkov is like, I'm sorry, but it just plays like a live game. I mean, it just does. So to not have like that, there's like big gaps where it's like nothing's happening, but I just don't know. It's just weird. It's weird, but I did want to,
especially when it comes to like ammo balancing and stuff. For sure, because those things can happen. They can do more of that stuff. I know that they don't really want. It's one of those things where they go, but it's all placeholders because the game's gonna be so different when it comes out, and it's all going to change. So there's no point wasting time doing balancing now because we've got this and this and this and this and the 1.0 and blah blah blah. So I get the argument. I understand, but
I do not buy that argument, dude. I'm sorry. I'm a doubter, dude. I'm a big doubter. But we'll see. Prove me wrong, you know what I mean? But
yeah, I've kind of moved in that way too. Like I got really hyped. Oh, so hyped, man. I was so hyped for the scope rework. Oh my word. Dude, I was like watching IRL videos of like ACOGs in real life, and I was like, oh dude, this is the prettiest fucking thing. I'm gonna put this on all my guns. Then we get in there and it's like all they did is added the I don't say all. I'm being so dramatic. That's very hyperbolic, but eye relief. Like on all the scopes, just add more eye relief. And a couple of them got worse. And I was like, no, what is this? This was supposed to be the patch, It's like, well, we also
supposed to be the chosen one. No, it's
what have you done?
And then you look back like 3 years ago, like the modding community has created these like beautiful scopes that could literally just be like imported into the game. And you're like, what is the, I think I've talked about this before, but like, what is the allergy to working with the modding community? Other devs have done it. Like maybe they're scared of whatever, but like people will do the work. Like if you allow people to do it, people will do the work for free for you. They will. The community, you don't even need to hire these people. People will just do it for free because they just love the game. Like people spend. Look at the guys on the wiki, right? Like it's insane the amount of work. Tarkov ballistics, Tarkov changes. There's like the number of people and all the SP mods. Like the number of people who are willing to just do stuff for free because they love it and it's their passion. It's outrageous. I feel that there's a really missed opportunity not tapping into some of that. I really do. I really, really do. I genuinely believe that. And like the fear of the modding community. And like, oh, we might lose control of the game or something. It's just like, no, stop it. Like, just like there's a way to do it in a constructive way. I'm sure there must be. The other people have done it. There must be a way. But anyway, it's PSG's decision. So there you go. But it does make me sad when you look at those mods and you go, it looks so pristine. There's like YouTube you can look up YouTube videos, right, of the modding community's versions of the optics, and it's like this has been done based upon the IRL on the scope and this and that, and we've got all of the markings correct, and like there's they all look super clean. They're all the same size, and like God, like it's frustrating. It's frustrating thinking, oh, we don't have the time and the resource to do it, or whatever. It's just like people have done it already. The work's already done. Yeah.
What I can't understand is why, maybe there's a good technical explanation, but it just bugs me to death that some scopes just have unusable sensitivity settings. And for what reason, technically speaking, I don't know. But like, I just feel like, oh man, there's like some scopes that I really like, but they're basically unusable to me. Like, I just feel like it's unreasonable for me to like, because you could be like, oh, just change your sensitivity. Well, yeah, but then now when I am not using the scope, like un-ADSing, my sensitivity's all over the place. You know, I won't be able to hit anything. So like, oh, just use a DPI switch. Well, it's not going to get it like 1-to-1. It's not a good.
Yeah.
They should really solve that issue because there's
Is this like the Schmidt you were talking about?
Yeah, the
1x8
Schmidt.
Schmidt.
I really like that scope, and I've used it, and it's like, but it's just I don't like it. I just feel like that would be something, you know, you would want to address in something labeled an optic rework. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Like even after the rework, right? So they were building that from scratch, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, so you're just like, you look at the scope, you're like, oh, this is like, you know, new scope, 1x8. Like we don't really have 1x8 in Tarkov. This is insane. It's so cool. And you're like, wow, the reticle is like so clean. Like the 8 times is so good you're using it. And you like zoom back to the 1 times and you're like, you're like, why can't I move? Like, what's happening? Am I up against a tree or something? You're like, no, it is like I have to use my entire desk to move like 3 pixels across in the 1x. Like, what? Like, how did you build it like this, guys? Like, come on, please. It's a new scope too. Like, you just test it for 5 minutes. You know, it's very, very crazy. It's very crazy. Yeah.
I feel like it only gets more egregious too when you know, I don't mind like. When it comes to the scopes, that sensitivity is a big deal, but then you add on the 30 frames you lose when you scope. So you're at like half FPS and you're at like 1/10 your normal like sensitivity. And you're like, what is this? Like, what am I looking at? Then so it's just that combo for me that does it.
Absolutely. I would honestly love, and I think we talked about this before, but I would love a setting where, and you could just turn it on and it just blacks out the outside of your scope and removes picture in picture. Like, in certain, like if I'm playing Lighthouse, I will gladly get rid of my peripheral vision to get my FPS back. Genuinely, it's one of the main reasons why I don't play that map. Half the time, I'm just using the scope to shoot at rogues anyway, so I don't need to be able to see the blurry. Like I can't even move the screen around anymore because they've locked us in place. We can't even use Alt now. So just get rid of it, right? Give us the option to remove picture in picture. I think I can't remember who was telling me. It might even been Tower or someone who was saying that. You can, there's other games where you can get rid of it. I think you can get rid of it in Armor. You can like choose whether you have picture-in-picture mode or the like regular 2D scopes mode, something like that. Because I mean, as you say, it's such a frame destroyer, right? And especially for people who like, I'm running a relatively decent PC. Like my CPU isn't amazing for Tarkov, but I have like a 3700 and a 3070, and I go under 60 when I scope in on Lighthouse. And it's like, man, I feel for the people who have very average rigs, more average than mine, and are like that, as you say, like 30 FPS. Like some people genuinely play at 30 FPS through scopes on Lighthouse. Right. It's insane. It's insane. That's what I was saying. You could even do it with the eye cup. You put the eye cup on, and it blocks out the peripheral vision. Right?
Yeah, that'd be smart.
I need a button to close my left eye. I'll put it on tilde plus like right control or something. Close my left eye with the eye cup, and then I'm looking through, and then there you go. It's like picture in picture's gone. I don't know. Like, please.
I mean,
please.
Back in when I first started playing as well, you know, I didn't have the greatest machine. I mean, I've upgraded over the years, but I really didn't like using scopes because of the frame drops you would get. Like, it was so frustrating. Because in some cases, like, you really kind of need a scope or you really want a scope in a certain situation. But like, you know, I was like, oh, I try to get smart, right? I was like, oh, let me just get something with a tiny amount of zoom. That way it won't, you know, drop my frames. I don't really understand what's going on. And I was like, oh, the Monstrum. And it's like, no, it's still dropping my frames. And it's like, well, I might as well just use the Razor or whatever, the Voodoo at the time. Because it's just like, it gives me the same crappy performance, but it's better zoom. It's just, so I say that to say I feel sorry for the low spec people out there who, because essentially I just didn't run scopes, like rarely, because it just wasn't a good experience. Like I felt like I was just actively hurting myself. Like, yeah, I can see further, but I'm like dipping below in like the 30s occasionally. You know, it's just like not a good experience. So
you hear that, everyone? Church, the 1%. He cares about you. He feels for you, low spec loot. No, I'm just kidding.
Speaking of low spec. I hear you're a standard account player. What are you, poor? Like some kind of poor person?
Listen, dude. Yeah, no, but the reactions that we get. I mean, what did Veritas recently coin standy? The standard Andes. He's been calling them all standies. But I just think it's goofy, the reaction a lot of people have to white names, and especially, it used to just be that you buy a standard account, it's the easiest one, it gave you the most challenge, the most stuff to do. Because there was some fun early on, like building everything up and trader rep matter stuff. But I recently upgraded to whatever the tier is right beneath EOD. I don't know if it's left behind, whatever.
I think it might be left behind. Yeah.
No one cares about the middle two kids.
Yeah,
what they're called. It's standard accounts because it's a white name or EOD. And so I explicitly didn't buy EOD, but I wanted the more stash base because now that I'm making content, if I ever kill a streamer, their reaction to a white name is typically leagues better than if it's an EOD. And so it adds so much value because my content's so trashy and like pokes so much fun at people sometimes that's like it's just become kind of a staple of the channel. Like if I ever put up a video killing a streamer and they have that back and forth, the comments are just like laughing about how they got so mad that I'm a white name and stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's like the Rats and Chads thing. The way that white names are talked about, it's just hilarious now that it's become this staple of the community. When I still spent like whatever, I still spent $100 damn on the game, whatever class is. But
you don't got the crown, so yeah, that guy's really sus. He doesn't have a crown. Really sus.
Definitely a 2-tier player game, isn't it? You've got like the Chad EOD players, and then you've just got like the pariah state, everyone else, like, the lower three, just, white name. Oh, got me around the he's probably, I love that, the big brain for the content, though. I approve of that.
I was doing Chinese names the last 2 months of last white.
God.
So I would just go onto a translator website and get like, Zhao Xing or something like that as an example and plop that in there. That got some friend requests. That got some people spicy. But it's just silly. I just think it's silly. Overall, it's just funny. Your name is Zhao and everyone's like, oh, everyone watch out. Watch guys. That one's a cheater. Guys, get out of there. But get my gun first,
Oh, man, that's funny. Oh, I'm assuming turns you and I into an ass. Is that the saying? Did I say that right?
Makes an ass out of you and me.
That's it. That's why I invited you on your shit. Because
makes you and me an ass. All right.
Something I wanted to jump back to quickly so I don't embarrass myself anymore was you were talking Shouldaville about playing the game. You like the game to be more slow, or like you want it to be more slow. And I feel like that plays into the survival-y aspect of it, because it is kind of weird. Like me personally, I don't really like labs because, there's a lot of good people and then there's a lot of sus people, generally speaking. Sure. Like when I was first playing, me and a buddy were playing labs and we were really scared, but our first 2 raids are pretty good. And then our next 2 raids, we got dumpster on what we thought was someone hacking, like back to back. And it was just kind of like just ruined the experience for me. And I never like went there again. Like occasionally I'll go there, but every wipe I'll be like, well, I guess I got like 10 billion rubles. I guess I can afford labs, but then I'm just like, nah, I'll go factory or whatever. But what I'm getting at is sometimes Tarkov, the way it's like played out with the raid system, is like, yeah, there's like survival stuff. Like there's a health bar, there's a food bar, and there's like these meters. But like, I guess like in the big picture, it just kind of feels like a more I'm trying to think of a game like a Factorio type of game. Like what is it? Like you just like you start with nothing, but you kind of build like this empire, and this like all the gears and cogs are spinning, and you're just like cranking out money and rubles, and you just get like infinite amount of wealth essentially. At least that's how it goes for me anyways. But it is kind of weird because it's just like, once like I'm at 41 and I was hoping to hit max traders, but that's kind of like my stopping point for the white most of the time. Just because I just run out of stuff to do and screw capo. But it just like feels like all the systems in place kind of just incentivize me to run around customs with a SKS with a laser on top and no sight and just shoot BP at people, and just kind of like goof around. Like, there's not really, because I'm so well established. I got so many resources. I don't know. It just, I feel like. What are your thoughts on everything I just said and about the universe?
Okay, we'll start with the universe bit.
Okay.
No, I find it so interesting for Tarkov that it is that survival-y kind of game, because it's mutated a little bit. It didn't used to be like that. The ruble has definitely been, if something what used to be expensive, it was like, oh, this is 10K, that's a lot of rubles. Now that same item is like 150K kind of thing. Like the ability to get rubles and the prices has just kind of expanded. But I find it really interesting how ruble based the game has become, where I feel like at the end of the day, everything is about tasking and filling my backpack, and it doesn't matter in between. We don't have a lot of the marked rooms aren't giving us the crazy rare. I'm not pulling a weapons case anymore or a sick case. There's not, let's go lighthouse. I don't know what that map is, like a treasure trove, I guess. I also don't play it, but that thing's like it's freak when it comes to loot there. But on other maps, it's just about rubles. And I'd love to see some sort of dynamic barter system where, I don't know. I don't know what the same 3 items are going to be that I'm like, oh, I need an impact grenade, so I always need to pick up nails, or I always need to, I don't know, what's the DVL? You need like a military power filter and something else like that. I think it'd be cool if those kind of things, the items that were up on offer changed and the items that you needed for them changed. So one day it's a DVL, the next day it's a T5000, and he's like, hey, I'm feeling nice, 3 chainlets. And it's like, oh, holy shit, for one day, those chainlets are crazy because it's affordable to run some of these cooler things. I don't know. I mean, it kind of goes all over the place, right? It's just such a tough question, because so much depends on other things, where it's like, why would I ever run a T5000? It's a 308 weapon when I can just get an RFB for whatever, 30K.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I wish Tarkov was more survivally. That's, sorry, long-winded answer. Hey, final answer. Survival game, please.
Yeah, we've talked. It's interesting that you talk about the barters and like changing barters, because we've talked about this a little bit. Like, if you had that kind of barter of the day for each trader or whatever, but you combined it with the find and raid barters system, that could actually work really well, because then you can't just fleece the system by buying like tons of stuff off the flea, and then just bartering it straight for those goods. But say, you have like a 3 chainlets thing, but they have to be finding raid chainlets, and make sure it's nothing that you can craft in the hideout. Make people actually go out and get the stuff to then go and do those barters. I guess it would also make people hoard, but if you want to use your space to hoard like tons of junk, then I guess that's up to you too.
Yeah.
Then it means you don't have so many rubles. I honestly think that more find and raid trader requirements would be better for the gear at the high end, or at least stuff that's incredibly good value. You can keep the system as it is, and you can even have 2 barters. You can keep everything as it is now, but say, you can get a slick, but you need to have this specific combination of things.
Yeah.
It could make it more interesting, and it's on a limited time, like a day or a week or whatever. I do think that would make it kind of cool. I agree with you on that. I definitely think there's more stuff that they can do. And for things like the rare ammos, like we've talked before about 7N40, like no one ever sees it. We've got tons of ammo in the game that now no one sees. Like APSX, no one sees that. Like M995, you can craft it, but then like SSAP and like some of these other ones that are only finding raid, well, they're just gone from the loot pool now. Really, you'd be lucky to get 100 of any of them throughout the whole wipe. So give people a way to get it that's maybe very expensive, but it gives people something to go for. It's like another version of the system that I was brainstorming at one point. It'd be maybe you'd have to tier the loot in some way, so it's common, medium, or rare, or whatever. Just we've got that system anyway with the different colored backgrounds. But if they say you need to get 5 rare items from this category, and then you can get 7N40, and that's like the barter for the day or whatever. And you can still limit it as well, so people can't just get 20,000 rounds of it and then stockpile it for the rest of the wipe. But I'm sure there's interesting stuff that they can do there to incentivize people to do more stuff in raid. Because Winchester talked about this a ton of times, right? There's like no real point in having the barters really, other than the price is dynamic and driven by players, which is fine. But it's sort of like it's just one step. It's having those items on the flea market with extra steps, like we always like to say about things in EFT. So if the barter for whatever is 3 visors and or whatever, then if those things are on the fleet, then it may as well be on the fleet. You may as well have the armor on the fleet. Like, there's no reason to have it banned from the fleet.
Essentially a ruble transaction at that point.
Right.
Essentially, through the medium of, it just so happens to have something in the middle that you can buy from the flea market. So yeah, I do think more of these kind of finding ways, and it would be optional. You wouldn't have to do it. You need to keep the main system as it is. But I hope the main game is a little bit more like that. And that's how you slow the pace of the game down, right? We've seen the pace of 12-12 be slowed down by removing all the tier 6s and the tier 5 armors off the flea market and a bunch of guns and whatever. So that then forces people to level up their traders and do the Grenadier quest for BP rounds and all this kind of thing. And those changes slowly pushing it out, but we're working methodically and slowly towards, no matter how far along the spectrum you think we might be, it's like pre-12-12 Tarkov and here's hardcore. We're slowly working our way towards hardcore by cutting off the top end, which may be a good compromise ultimately. And as we remove more and more stuff, as people get used to it, then we may end up in a steady state. I mean, the only thing that I'll say as well extra is that I do remember Nikita talking about just generally how he's got an idea of how he wants the game to be, and he's slowly going to walk us there. He's not going to make any snap changes and make huge, like we thought 12-12 was quite a big deal, but they've made even more changes after that. So it's the boiling frog thing, right? You just slowly turn the temperature up, and the people, just slowly get there. And
what's the end game? Because like if the the boiling frog metaphor is taken literally, like they've been banning stuff. So like if they what's like when it actually is fully boiled, is it just like everything's banned from the flea market? There is no flea. Is that like the end game? I don't know. It just doesn't.
I don't know where it ends up. Yeah.
Like it's like I like how banning the top tier armor plays out, but I don't like. How do I say this? I like it and I don't like it. I like it selfishly because of how it plays out, but I think it's just like wrong in a sense. Like, okay, for example, the KS-23, right? Let's remove found array from the equation. Let's say you get a KS-23 and you want to sell it on the flea market, you can, whatever, blah blah blah. Well, if you're gonna like sell on the flea market and make some money, and then go into array and die to a KS-23, you can't at the same time be mad at that because you actively contributed to the supply of selling on the flea market. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a little backwards. You know what I mean? Like, man, KS-20s are so annoying, but you were actively like selling the thing. I've seen like people like Queen FPS just like delete KS-23s in her stash out of pure spite. But it's just a little weird. And I just feel like, someone wants to like trade, or in this case sell, I guess, for rubles. I mean, right now like rubles is purely trading. I don't know. It's just a weird thing because I'm again going to pull from Rust. It's just like, people aren't really like too big on selling high tier explosives. I mean, for obvious reasons, because those can be used to destroy your base. And even like high tier weapons, they're not like too keen on selling unless they're like, massive clan, like they're beyond, they've surpassed surviving, they're now thriving, they got like 1 million things just crunking out AKs, whatever. But point I'm making is like, I just don't see it as a wrong thing for one person to be, hey, I did this work, I got this really valuable thing, I want to get something else valuable. You know what I mean? And VSG is just kind of like, well, we just can't have these things on here. You got to do all these ridiculous steps if you want to get the thing. Like I can't, like if I get a slick and I don't want to use it, what do you do? You vendor it and you get.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like I don't
you
even
use it or you vendor it. That's it now. That's the only choice.
But if it's a rat rig, I can sell on the flea market, no problem. You know what I mean? It's just like, it doesn't really, I don't know. I like feel like there's a fundamental flaw with that way. Like it's the most, like it's effective because it changes the meta in a sense, but it's like such a slap, arbitrary. I mean, everything's arbitrary and it's a video game, but I don't know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but it's like, the freedom of the game before the restrictions was actually kind of cool. But the downside of the way the game played out meant that it was very super cyclical, right? And we were so dependent on wipes, and the game like 3 weeks in sucked.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? And it's like I think the problem is that we just can't have everything. We just can't have both. I think we have to make this compromise, and I do think it was the right compromise to make. Honestly, after playing through 12.12 and this new patch, it was the right compromise. Like the early game is way better. It's the thing people always used to complain about. 2 days in, people are running Gen 4s and stuff from labs and buying, selling tons of crap and then just buying whatever they want because people are taking the stuff from labs and selling it on the flea, and it's just this like gear just floods the economy. Like, it's way better now, and it's unfortunate because I personally used to love playing around with the market and selling stuff back and making those efficient choices and things. But it's changed the game. For me, it's changed the game, but not necessarily in a bad way, because previously, as you were saying, do you like vendor the slick? And it's not even necessarily slick. So you get something like a Dutem. I normally sell those usually well, it depends on what stage you're at, but like I used to sell them on the flea, but I probably wouldn't vendor it because it's only worth like 57k. So now, before the choice was vendor it, sell it on the flea, or use it. But vendoring it was never really the option ever.
Right.
So even though we had three choices, one of the choices wasn't really real. So you either use it or you sell it on the flea. So now the two choices we have is vendor it or use it. And because the vendor option is so bad, it then makes people use it a bit more. So in some ways it's not terrible, because now, like, if you're trying to play efficiently and economically like I normally do, now I'm like, well, I would buy a Redutem for 55k or whatever if Ragman had that on offer. So I shouldn't sell it to him for 55k. I should just use it myself. And so you can now play efficiently without feeling like you're making the wrong choice by using the gear that you pick up rather than selling it. Because previously it was pretty much dead cert that selling it is the right thing to do. Whereas now you don't have that option. So now you have to do something else, and you do the next best thing, which is use it. I think there's lots of scenarios like that where I think it's better, but I totally hear you. I totally hear you, because the freedom of the economy and the free flowingness was really, really cool. But again, it's all wrapped up in RMT and those restrictions as well. But it's just a shame that that it had to go down that route to get the outcome that we've ended up with. I think that's the thing.
I feel like there's a little bit more tweaking somewhere down the line with, with regards to what you can and can't sell, or maybe if it's even we look at the tasks instead, because I think about like the Zabralo and the Gazelles. When you found one of those or you'd zeroed it, oh my goodness, and you pulled that off like a Rashal's bodyguard and you're lugging that to extract, you're like, I'm carrying like 10 million rubles. There's some of those moments that I don't think I've had that in wipes because of these changes. And now those only pop into my mind, like the Zabralo, because I think about how, like, much like the black key card, the barters are out within milliseconds. And like, I don't know how to explain to new players, like, so you have this task, okay, you need to turn in the Zabralo. So what you actually need to do is set a timer on your phone and start refreshing a couple seconds before, because that's not the real timer. There's a timer in the background, I don't know. I think because they're task based, they stick out in my head more, because it's just frustrating. But I guess also, like, I think there would be cool. I think there's cool ways to incentivize taking more stuff out that was on other players. Maybe a trooper, right? It sells for 50k. If I buy one from Ragman and sell it back to him, it's like half cost. But for some reason, Ragman he just loves bloodied up troopers or something, where he's like, oh, you clearly got this from another player. I'll give you 110s for it. I just think, like, because most players I feel are just still playing for money, I don't know if there's a way to incentivize some of that other player gear and, say, hey, this should actually be worth a little bit more. Then again, I guess somebody's going to read me and be like, the point of the game is not PvP. It's like, okay, I get it. All right. I know. I know the point is not PvP. I don't know, man. It just, nothing sucks more than just having a stash full of, like, crap, because it's not worth selling. And like you said, you're like, I'm going to use it eventually. so you end up sitting with just a stash full of stuff. But I don't know. Yeah, that thinking probably doesn't have any place in, like, kind of like how you're saying, Giga, with the, like, what does 1.0 look like, right? What is the 1.0 environment of the game? What is the economy of the game? I'm more thinking for me right now. I want to sell this stuff for more. Dang it, it's me. But
yeah, I mean, usually what happens is when I loot player gear, it's like, am I going to use this if it's no, then I don't take it. If it's yes, then I'll take it. But that's pretty much it, because like there's like exceptions, like, you know, if it's an ump, I can like slap a bunch of attachments on it that I found or loot off other players, and then, you know, min max those slots. But like it's always like it's just gonna get vendored, or it's just I'm gonna use it. And with like weapon maintenance and durability, like usually if it's below, for me, I just don't like jams. I just don't want to deal with it. So if it's like getting in the 96%, I'm just gonna vendor it and buy a new receiver or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it is weird because you end up prioritizing like stuff you're going to use. And if you don't use it, you just vendor it. Like there's a perfectly, okay, to jump back to the Rita example, in the scenario now, it's either I use it or I don't, and I vendor it. But in the old scenario, I may not like the Redut, but someone else is willing to pay X amount of rubles for it. So I can like still get something out of that value for it. Now it's just like I killed a boss guard. He has a Redut. Why would I pick it up? It's going to weigh me down. You know, it's like I can't flea market it. It's already broken. So if I repair it, it's not going to do me any good. I can just go buy a rig off a trader instead of the new class 5 rig. It just doesn't make any sense. Like so many things are just like not worth taking, because either it's like you can't sell it or it's not found in raid. I don't know that part.
It's like, you know why, right? And you've just said it yourself, and it's because you can buy all this stuff on the traders once you've done the tasks. It's the fundamental problem we've talked about again and again and again and again, is that the trader system needs to be changed, right? Like the traders having to fix things every single cycle. Like it's either completely sold out if it's a no-brainer, but the fact that you look at a class 5 armor in raid that you've got off a guard or something, and you go, I don't need to bring this because I can pay 240k for it, or a Gazelle, or a Corund, or whatever else, right? That's the problem, in my opinion. That's the issue. And it's just like none of this stuff is valuable because everybody is incentivized to race through the tasks so that they unlock all the stuff, so that then they can run infinite things, because picking up player PvP gear is completely worthless compared to filling your backpack full of random loot items, because the ruble meta is still here, because you still sell all that stuff for rubles, which you then buy the barter items and buy the stuff for the things that you get on Ragman 3+ if you're buying armor. And that's just the way the game is. It's been decreased a little bit by the changes that they've made, but that mentality is still there. Like in the scarcity event, I know lots of people hated it because they didn't get to prepare for it and blah, blah, blah. But the game should be more like that, right? Like if you find a Redoute armor, you should be excited. If you find a Slick, you should be excited. You shouldn't be going, oh, well, the Redoute is 3x4, so that's 12 slots. So that's like 120k. I can only sell it for 60k. I'd rather have, 12 wires and a cyclone in my backpack instead, right? It's just like, it's ridiculous. It's just that that's not the way, like the game's broken in that sense. And it's because there's not enough scarcity on the traders, but it's like, how do you balance that? It's tough, but that's the problem. I don't actually have a full solution, to be honest, but that's the issue.
Yeah, and it's like, even in what Shouldaville was saying, like back in the day where you had that Zabralo, that was like worth 1 million rubles, or you had that weapon case that was worth like 1 million rubles and stuff. It was like, I don't find myself, I mean, granted, I've been playing for, 2 or 3 years. I don't know. I can't keep track, but, I don't find myself ever, even this wipe, I never like killed someone. Maybe I'm just, skill issue. I didn't kill anyone wearing good gear. I don't know, but I never like looted them and was like, oh my God, this guy's juiced out. Everyone's wearing crap gear. They're wearing their appropriate level to their trader gear. It's like, it doesn't make any sense for me to loot a grip that's like a meta grip and throw it on my crappy AK, because someone out there is willing to give me, 2 full kits worth. That's exaggerated, but like a whole full kit's worth of rubles that I can, my level 1 trader gear full kit loadout for like, what I'm saying? It's just like, why? I could buy like 7 shotguns with this grip, or I could use it and get head eyes by a scav with buckshot. It's just like, that's the real unfortunate part, is I feel like people aren't like, you don't find, like when you find the good stuff, it's like, does it have a check mark, and can it be sold in a flea market? No, then it's not really worth me taking out. And then people decide to gear up. It's like only worth me bringing the good stuff if I have the requirements from the trader, because that's like the most cost effective way to do it. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't. Yeah, it's a cobweb of spiderweb of
Yeah.
weird mess. But
That scarcity event, you reminded me. I completely forgot about that thing, man. That's the first like week I took off from Tarkov. And it was only because I'm one of those dweebs who's like, I'm gonna fill out my weapon cases, maximize, and removes all the grips from the guns. Totally sold them all because I had to buy them off the flea. So that whole week I was running pistols and scav shotguns because I was like, all my meta gear is sitting in these, I've got 11 thick item cases full of slicks and I'm disgusting. But then I'm like, I have no grips. I can't even pick up my own gun. Like my PMC's looking at this millet or like a medieval blunt object. He's like, this mutant is nothing but a bat at this point. But no. Where are the events this wipe? Oh, sorry.
I don't really know. I thought that was really funny, personally. I actually did think that was quite funny because I was like, well, everybody, because I did see some people complaining about it, and it's just like, well, you made some assumptions, and they came not to be true, And I sort of like that people got pulled out on that a little bit. It's like you made assumptions about availability and whatnot, and then that comes with risks. But yeah, I mean, we haven't had anything, have we, this wipe so far? Yeah, I guess it's early.
It's too soon. We got another 5 months, boys.
But I thought they started doing, wasn't the dehydration event like a month in last wipe? 12? I thought that was so early.
You know what? I think it was like a couple months in.
Maybe I'm smoking crack. I don't know.
Are you?
Could be. It's where I get my energy for my shitty content. Just do a line real quick before. That's Coke. Well, same thing. Whatever.
What's up, guys? It's Shouldaville here.
Yeah, right. I'm super excited to be here. I am not on drugs.
I can't even know what I was going to say. I'm like completely derailed. That is like the train is like off the track and down in the ravine at this point. No, I'm really bad with dates and things like that, so I can't remember when the stuff happened in the last wipe. I just don't really know. I'd have to go back and like look at the post and like compare the dates and stuff. It's just like
you don't have that.
I cannot remember. I don't have that in my Excel spreadsheet. It's why I rely on these things so much. I need these electronic crutches because you go like, oh, other than it being like 6 monthly, once it gets past from that, I'm just like, I don't know when any of the wipes were. I don't know when the events happened. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you anything about when they were. I'm just like so bad at that kind of like placing. If it wasn't very recent, it's really rough. But yeah, I don't know. I guess like people are still waiting for Lightkeeper. You know, that's supposed to be some kind of event that's happening. So I don't know. Until then, they're probably just gonna chill, I would guess. So we're supposed to see this patch. I don't know when we're gonna see this thing. I've sort of given up like speculating. I don't really care anymore. Right. But we'll see. I do hope it comes in this patch though, and I hope it doesn't be delayed until like Streets Part 1, which is also going to be part of like the next wipe or whatever. They do that in December or something.
All right. Placing bets. Who thinks Streets coming in like the end of this year? Realistically, I'll go first. I think it's likely. I'll put it on record. Who's going to be man enough to go second? Shouldaville? Giga?
I am on record saying I believe we will get a map, but I think here's my thing. They released Lighthouse and said it was good, and everyone got 25 frames, and they were silent, like they were like, here it goes, and I'm nervous that they're like, we're having performance issues. Like, whoa, you didn't say that about Lighthouse, and that was like that was fried. So I'm just scared that if they're saying they're having performance issues, what the hell? Like, what does that mean?
Right.
But, no, I also think we'll get something. They've sliced it up. They'll give us one building to walk around in just to say they got some of it out. Not in a bad way. Like I just mean we'll see it.
Yeah, I mean that probably is the most likely scenario. I mean, I guess we'll get it with a wipe in December. It would be my guess if I was going to have to make some kind of random guess. But we might just get, Concordia and some other bits, which is the same size as a regular map, and we'll have a normal number of PMCs. It won't be, we're going to have 50 PMCs, and there's going to be explosives and a helicopter and a tank and all sorts of other things. I think it'll just be relatively regular, and I guess it won't be integrated with the other maps, and it'll be, here's the first iteration of Streets. It's one hotel room, and you're all just going to fight in it.
Yeah.
Sounds like expectations are, pretty low there, which is, I guess trying to be fair to BSG in a way. You know, it's
kind of. I mean, I'm 50. Honestly, like I've said, December, but like I would not be surprised if it gets pushed into next year. Really would not. I really would not. Unless they look, the performance just isn't good enough. We don't want to release something that just completely sucks. Everyone's playing Streets.ppt. It's terrible, and we have to move it because we still need to work on it. I can see it. I can see it.
What do you guys think? I got another question. When's 1.0 coming out? You know, when's like Tarkov is like, when's the project over? What do you like? Is it 2023? End of 2023? 2024? You know, it just I don't know. I just feel like it's so weird that I'm hearing Nikita say these things, but I feel like we got so far to go, and I know it can't go on forever, but it's like really hard to like, because they're so like quiet, so reserved. You know, we just got a Q&A podcast, and he like said a bunch of things, confirmed a bunch of things, but we have nothing to see for it. I mean, we got some like cool animations of like different placeholder assets in there, but it's just like, you know, I mean, I feel like me and Gabe have both said we kind of feel like the 1.0 will look very similar to the beta, but like I was just listening to Clean earlier today. He put out a video and he was describing his time working at BSG, where he used to be their like US marketing guy, and through his like contacts with Nikita and then the team and what he's been like told bits and pieces there, he put together like a story of 1.0. I was just like, dude, I mean, that's great if they get there, but I just really don't know if that's going to happen. And what Nikita's saying is like, hey, we want to be done with this thing in the next couple of years. What do you guys think about that?
I'm gonna make Giga answer this one.
Dude, it's rough. I was getting distracted while you were chatting. I was getting distracted by someone in chat, Strange Computer Bandit, who said we might get one street instead of all the streets, which just made me laugh. I was like trying to hold back. I was trying to hold back a chuckle.
Hyper this whole time.
But no, I mean, oh god, I mean, in all seriousness, I can see 1.0 coming out at like the beginning of 2024 or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's like
I can see
far enough away for them to get the things they want done and to cut the stuff that's just not going to happen.
Right.
But enough time that they're also thinking like this just needs to be finished, at least in the 1.0 stage, and they can tinker with some stuff afterwards. But I just can't see it any sooner. I don't see it any sooner than December 2023. You know, if they stick to these like 6 monthly wipe periods. Because I mean, what does that even look like, right? It's like if we get streets in December now, then what we've got we've got one more wipe, and then the game ships. Like,
right.
For real? Like, I don't know, dude. I don't see that. So that's why I think 2024, maybe like summer 2024. So maybe not even. Maybe it'd be like at the end of the year. I'm not sure. Maybe we've got two and a bit years of Tarkov, like pre 1.0. I don't know. It's so hard to call. It's so hard to call. Maybe they'll just decide that, oh, screw it, you know, we made enough money, we'll just close all the servers down, it's over.
Yeah, they go basically DayZ with it, scorched earth.
Yeah, that's it. We're making 2028 now. We're spending way too long on this stupid game. We're just closing it down for the good of humanity and our own sanity. You go do something productive. Like, see you later.
Some of y'all need to shower. It's been a couple of years. Good heavens.
Go touch some grass. Bye.
I mean, honestly, this is going to sound really like dark, but I feel like that timeline may not be the worst thing in the world, because if the project did go dark, then potentially if it was just a dead IP, the modding community could just if they could get their hands on it, if they could get it running up on some servers and it just became like this freeware thing, like, dude, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't mind taking a peek in that timeline. I don't know if I would want to live in it or experience it, but it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, that was a tangent. You were going to say Shouldaville that?
No, I'd almost flip the question, because it is,
okay.
I think, to Giga's point, it's almost impossible. Like, pick a date and say, but I think for me, it's like, what would be your, like, okay, if the game we're playing today is actually 1.0, what are the few things that it needs fixed before you give it the thumbs up? Like, for me,
right,
I'll explain this. Like, I would take the game we have today, Just fix your damn AI. I want cool AI. I want them sliding into cover. I want them like doing stuff. And if you fix them and make them fun to engage with and not more of a frustration, I guess, that's when I'd be like, okay, fine, right? I know that they've said they're gonna keep a team working on DLC and stuff. It's like I would give it my thumbs up. But man, I mean, we shouldn't talk about it. I know everyone talks about it. Oh, dude, AI. Oh my word, it wears me out, man.
I finally met the goons.
Oh, did you? How was it?
I've been looking for them.
I got 2-shot by night into the chest with M61.
Wow.
That sounds
In fairness, it was kind of my fault.
Okay.
In fairness, because I heard the GL go off and I was like, huh, that could be big pipe. And then I kind of forgot, like, I kind of forgot that they can only spawn on weather station, and I needed to go to weather station. And I just sort of didn't think about it. And I was just like, for some reason, I just was like, oh, and this again, I think this was on like the very early days when I was come back. So I wasn't really like thinking straight. And I was like trying to deal with the whole like out of body experience and speaking to chat at the same time. And I just like strolled up into weather station to go and plant my signal marker. And I was like, oh, it sounds like it's kind of down by pier or something. I just thought no more of it. And then I walked up the hill and Knight was just like, "Bob up, you dead boy." And I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of my fault. And the chat was just like, yeah, but we're waiting for that. I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, what is it like?
Goofy.
AI, audio, networking. I think those are the 3 pillars.
Now, see, that's interesting because I feel like I'm going to pretend to be Nikita and pretend to know what he thinks and does. So, you know, granted, this is like complete bullshit, but I feel like his thing is obviously 1.0. Storyline quest, right? Because that's the big thing he always totes, right? The storyline quest. All the maps that they've already said, I think like Streets is the final map because Suburbs or is Town included?
No, so Suburbs and Town are DLC, which
They
basically means cancelled. And
right.
then Streets and Terminal, right? Are the 2 maps.
Oh, that's right. So you get those 2 maps, right? Criteria, what else? I'm trying to think of any big ones. I guess the third one you can lump in there, whatever they can achieve that they've said throughout the years in the time frame, like whatever gets cut, like the armored or the custom rigs, for example, that seems to have been cut content. Yeah. But like perhaps maybe we'll get advanced armor hitboxes. Perhaps maybe we'll get falling over animations. Perhaps maybe we'll get ragdolls and you can track characters, lockpicking, all the various stuff. But I feel like those 2 things are like, just get the maps done, just get the storyline quests. That's like the main criteria for, you know, the audio. Hey, we did some tweaks here. The networking, hey, you know, we did this, but it's, I don't know. It's like the dark skepticism or cynical look. I know
where you're coming from. Because like I was piggybacking off, you know, Shouldaville's thing of saying, well, if I wanted the game released in its state right now, what needs to be fixed? And that's kind of where that comes from. But like, yeah, turning it completely on its head, saying from Nikita's perspective, what features need to be added to the game? You know, we have audio, you know, we have networking. You know, it's already it's in the game. You know, it's in the game. So it just needs to be improved.
Yeah.
You know, but the feature exists in the game. Right. So I see what you mean, right? It's like connected maps and the addition of Streets plus like storyline quests or whatever. I think they're going to do the connected maps thing.
Maybe
because it's important to Streets. I think it's important to Streets.
That's true. He does make a big point about that,
right? Because it's like the Labs Factory Streets like thing is going to incorporate the connected maps. I think, and I've been telling my chat about it, right? And I've been discussing with them for a long time, probably ever since I made the video about the open world. And I regret, I can't even remember what the title was. I hope it wasn't open world, because I'm trying to like backpedal on the term open world, because I think open world gives people the wrong impression. And people think it's going to be like DayZ. I just don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be connected maps. It's going to be the map we have now, except because you're on customs, Linehouse is going to be blocked. Right, that's what it's going to look like. You're still going to go from raid to raid. We're still going to have raid timers. Originally, they wanted to get rid of them. They're not going to get rid of them. Like you said, they're going to stay. And some extracts are going to be linking to other maps only, and you won't be able to go back to the hideout and stuff like that, right? It's going to be a more restrictive version of what we have now, but I believe it'll be very similar. I don't think it's going to be open world. I think it's going to be connected maps instead. I've like become quite adamant in my belief that that's the way that it's going to go down, because I just don't see how it's going to work otherwise. Like, as much as we all would love to have some kind of the cycle type, entry into live raids thing with like 6-hourly servers and cycling of loot and like respawning of loot and stuff like this, I just don't see it happening. I think it's way too radical, even though I think it'd be amazing for the game.
Right.
I think it's way too radical, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's still going to be raid based. The items are all going to spawn at the beginning, and they're going to continue to be there. The maps are going to be connected in such a way that all it does is restrict your movement from one to another. Certain extracts will let you go to the hideout, and others won't. Some extracts will let you go to different maps, and others won't. And I think that's what that will end up being like, personally. And so that's why I don't think it's actually necessarily that hard. Like, it's not technically that difficult, because you just say, oh, well, now you're on this map, you can't go there, or you can't go to the hideout because you're on this bit. But I think that's going to be intrinsically linked with the storyline quests, because that's really important, like how you unlock the maps and unlock the traders and move through the map. I think it's going to all be tied into that. That's my personal belief. Again, it's all speculation, but that's what I think will happen. So I think that all of that's tied together. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Nikita probably just has this kind of, he's got his bucket list of things that he wants to have on there, and when those are completed, he's probably got like, these things must go in, these things are nice to have,
right?
And we'll do as many of the nice to have things as we can alongside doing the things that we really need to get done. And then he's got probably some date in his mind of when it needs to go out for whatever reason, whether he wants to move on, or whether he has, there's other people who work in the company, right? It's not just him on his own. So there's other people who have other goals and other ideas of what the studio should be doing or whatever. So we don't know what kind of priorities he's working in himself. He does seem to have quite a large scope to do what he wants, which is good, but it's just so hard to tell. So yeah, we will see. I totally get that point.
Well, I mean, should we wrap it up here, boys? Unless Shouldaville, you got anything extreme or radical you want to say?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Wait, you paused. Hold on.
No.
Okay. All right.
Everybody record your gameplay. Anybody, if you have, there's so many light softwares, record it. Record everything. You'll be shocked. I don't know. You'll see less cheaters, and all of a sudden you realize you're an idiot. And there was a guy 3 feet to your right. I don't know. It's fun to watch your stuff back. Everyone record your gameplay. That's my final, my wisdom. Take it. Anyway,
I guess if we have like a couple of minutes, I won't wax lyrically. So I will try not to. Have either of you two used the new Tasmanian Tiger rig?
Which one is that?
It is the Class 6 available at Ragman 3, which has 4 2x1 slots.
I have not, but I'm very interested to hear what you're going to say.
Have I been screwing myself? Is that what you're about to tell me?
You've been using a lot. It's interesting. So I've actually been doing quite a bit of testing on. It was about this rig in particular, but also about armor damage, because I started like delving a little bit into the armor damage thing with the APM. Like, we talked about this before, Church, and I had like people sending me like tons of stuff, and I've been sort of absorbing it and things like that. But I think there's a couple of like interesting takeaways. Like, I'm putting together like a proper video on the rig, but there's like a lot of other random topics that it touches on. The problem with this, right, is that I'm trying not to make it like a math class, like what I've been accused of previously in the comments. But the issue is that to understand what's going on, there's a certain amount of like background understanding that you need to have. And people on their like first wipe, whatever, like there's no way that I was looking at this stuff in my first wipe. There's no chance. But I mean, there's more information now than there was back then, even though people were doing testing and whatever. We know so much more, and there's so many more tools. You can understand it quicker. But it's quite complicated, because to look at whether the Tiger is better than, I don't know, the Corund, it all comes down to the armor damage points from different rounds, right? Across the broad spectrum of the things that people actually use. So maybe let me just like throw out a few interesting things. So the Tasmanian Tiger, so it's Class 6, but it has really low durability. Right? It's got 40 durability, and it's ceramic. So that means that the effective durability is 50. It's like one of the lowest durability armors in the entire game. But interesting thing to note, which is something that I've suspected for a while and kind of knew, but never had it like parameterized. When you get shot with a Class 6, if you normalize this stuff for the armor material, within the effective durability thing. If you're looking at it on an effective durability basis, armors in class 6 take less damage from the same bullet from an armor damage perspective than a class 5 does. And class 5 takes less damage than class 4. So you can't just cross-reference from class 6 to class 5 and say it's 50 durability, so it's dog shit. Like you can't do that because the class 6s take less damage. So effective durability isn't even apples to apples. It works within the class, but it doesn't work between classes. So interestingly, 50 durability in class 6 is kind of like 60 durability in class 5.
Really?
It's not precise. It's not precise one-to-one. It's roughly about that though. It's roughly about that. Because when you look at it, it's about 20%. It's about 20% less damage that you take using your class 6 than using your class 5. And for class 4, it's like you take like 33% less damage. So against the class 4s, the 50 effective durability is more like 75 durability, which is kind of interesting. Then you've got the second effect, which is what makes it like more complicated, is because then as each time you lose durability, the pen chance goes up. But because it's class 6, it only drops below like class 5 effectiveness at about 45% of its durability. So the thing about something like the Gazelle or like the Corund or whatever is that like at half durability, it's like a class 4 and gets destroyed by all the ammo that everyone's using. Whereas the Tiger gets to 50% durability and it still acts like a Redoute M on the next shot, which is kind of weird. But because it's got low durability, it acts in a really weird way. So for example, 45 AP. I didn't expect this to happen, right? 45 AP, because the armor class is so high and the penetration is so low at like 38, like relatively speaking, it was the lowest of the ones we tested. The percentage chance of penetrating is like 0, 0, 0, and you're taking flash damage the whole time. It's like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 90. And you die in 5 hits, no matter what. It's like 100. You will not survive 6 shots ever, but 4 shots you'll be basically completely okay. It's like it's really so binary. Wild. It's like so binary. And so the ones I'm focusing on is those two. So like this actually I've got like tons of data. We did 45 AP, we did BT, we did M80, 506A1, BP. But I've had to focus on 2 because it's just like it's way too much information.
What was BP like?
So that BP is the one that I've been looking at the most.
Yeah, that's I'm really curious.
And it's the one that really matters, right? Because that's the one that people get so butthurt about because it's like the meta round.
Yeah.
You know, people care about like M80 and M62.
Right.
But like the guns are kind of expensive. Like M62, like an M80, like they're good damage, but the pen's not that good, right? Like M62 is like what, 44 pen or something. It's like
something weird like
it's
that.
Okay. It's not that great. Like it's the 47 pen of BP and the 58 damage that makes it just like it will just kill you. You know, like so Gazelle, for example, you take 2 shots through that and it pens both times, even with mitigation. And this is the thing, I've got all the data now, so now I know that this stuff is true. If you take a shot through a Gazelle from BP and it pens on the very first hit, you'll get 43 damage from 58. So there's a lot of mitigation. But shot 2 that penetrates deals 47. So it's 90 damage, you die. And that happens like 50% of the time. So through basically most of the class 5s, it's like a 50% chance to just get 2 shot. It's definitely with the Gazelle because the second chance is like 90%, so it makes it like overwhelmingly likely. Whereas with the Tiger rig, the first shot is like 1.1% chance to pen, so that like almost never happens.
Yeah.
So you get the first shot for free. Then the second shot, it takes you from, and this is where the data comes in handy. So the second shot takes you from, where have I got this? Oh, it's on the other tab. It takes you from 40 down to 21.4 durability. At 21.4 durability, it's still only a 30% chance to pen you. Because it's still, because 45% of a class 6's max is the level 5 point, right? That's the class 5 point. And 21.4 is like 55% or something. So we're still like a decent wedge above. And it's kind of in a sensitive area too, so that's kind of like where it makes the difference. But it's only 30% to get 2 shot. So sorry, to get a penetration on the second one. So when you like boil it down, and like this is why I have these, like I've got this whole like page full of like probability trees and all this stuff, because it gets kind of complicated. But I tried to like boil it down to the simplistics, and the way it boils down is like 1/3 of the time you get 3 shot, and 2/3 of the time it takes 4 hits to kill you with BP. It's insane. The third shot, you have no armor damage. Like if you deflect the first one and you deflect the second one, you take 10 blunt damage and then 14 for 24 damage total. And then the armor is completely busted. Like totally busted. It's as if you're wearing nothing at all. But because the blunt damage on it is so low, you take the full 58 for shot 3, but it only deals 82 damage. So it can't kill you because the blunt damage is so low on shots 1 and 2.
Oh, I see.
You don't have any armor. After shots 1 and 2, you don't have any armor, but you took like no damage. It still takes 2 more shots to kill you. 66% of the time. So 2/3 of the time you take 4 hits to kill. 1/3 of the time you take 3 hits to kill. For the price, I think it's good. It actually works. It's interesting because it works better for the better rounds, kind of. You know what I mean? It's like it's better against BP.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's better. It's better against BP because the crappier rounds will just slowly chip away. Right. And whether you're using class 5 or class 6, it won't pen either of them. So it goes chip, 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 and then it kills you. So, like when I ran, like, that was actually the most annoying simulation. Was the AP, the 45 AP against the Gazelle. That was the most annoying one. But the long story short on that is very roughly, it's like 10% of the time you get 4 shot, and 90% of the time you get 5 shot. Whereas with the Tiger, you get 5 shot 100% of the time. That's the only scenario. So it's actually not that much better against the crappy like fast fire rate rounds. It's not that much better, but it's way better against BP.
Yeah,
that's so weird.
That is kind of so bizarre. See, I've always made the horribly wrong assumption that, you know, if my slick was okay, whatever. If my okay, what is this one called? The Tiger rig.
Tasmanian Tiger SK.
What's the max durability? Is it 40, right?
40. Yeah.
So if that rig was 20 out of 40, then that's effectively a class 3 rig. That was always my operating assumption. Like, oh, it makes sense. You know, it's number 6, class 6, 40%, 100. That's maximum.
I see.
You know, if it's at half, then it would be half of its class, which would be class 3. But clearly that is not the case at all. Wow, this information's interesting. So it's like you kind of want, because is it ceramic or what's the material?
Ceramic.
Yeah.
So it's not good. Like it's not good. That's why the effective durability is so low, because that takes into account that. Yeah. So it's not like this isn't going to change your life, right? Like a slick is still better, but the fact that it's 150k and you pay that for Gazelle if you do the barter, I think because they even increased the price of the Gazelle armor this wipe. It's like 140k anyway. So these two things are like equivalent. I think this thing's strictly better, and you get a rig for free.
Does it come with? Does it protect your stomach?
It doesn't.
I didn't think it did.
But for the lower armors, in some ways, you could argue that's better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
It's pros and cons, you know. And this thing's quite good against like higher tier rounds, so you probably shouldn't be using it in CQB anyway.
Like
it's quite a good. Yeah, it's quite. And one more thing, it's 7.5 kilos. This thing is quite a good like DMR, like sprint around flanking, you know, run about on woods and sort of medium range people with like an SR and stuff. Like, so it's kind of is that kind of armor. I think that's sort of how I'm feeling about it at the minute, because it gives you a few chances against some of the big bullets. Quite interesting. It's quite interesting. But yeah, it's so hard without the data. Now I've got enough data, and like I'm probably going to end up looking more into like armor damage and stuff. But there's like so much of that prerequisite work that needed to be done to go into this, and having the information or whatever. But I was like, man, I'm like overwhelmed by the amount of data that I have here, because it's all well and good having like I have like each shot and what the health was, and I healed up between each one because I just wanted to know what the damage was for each. It didn't matter like, oh, it kills you in 3, it kills you in 4, because I can work that out myself. Like what I wanted to avoid is we went into raid 20 times and we shot it with 55A1, and 4 times it did 5 shot and 3 times it did 2 shot, whatever. Like that's fine. That's okay as like a first take. But what I really wanted to know is I wanted to know the actual armor damages as it comes through, rather than relying on, you know, all the frag chances and doing a small sample size. Because even with offline mode, it takes a long time to get all this information. But if you have the armor damages, you can then use Battle Buddy to figure out what the percentage chance is for penetration. And you can do the calculations yourself then, and you can like know the answer, as opposed to just doing some kind of simulation right 20 times and going, well, here's kind of approximately what it looks like. and it gives you much more flexibility. So like I was kind of getting, that's why I was getting a bit overwhelmed with the data, because I was like, oh, I'm actually going to have to like simulate this and say, okay, well, the first shot, this is the chance. Then the armor damage goes to this. That means the pen is now this. This is now the pen chance. And this is if it pens, if it doesn't pen, and then what's the chance of that? And you have to go through the full tree for it. So it gets a bit crazy. So that's why I ended up just doing 2. There might be some interesting stuff within 5.5A1 and M80 and BT as well, but I just haven't had it took me all day to go through all the information and do it properly on this. So I was like, I'm just going to go insane. So let's just go like the bottom end of the spectrum and like the top end of the spectrum and see what happens. And like both are interesting. So I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see. So maybe I'll do like a more generalist one, because I feel like I'm starting to get a handle on armor damage now. Finally, it's taken me ages. It's taken me ages to actually start to feel like I actually understand it a bit better. I mean, not like 2 weeks ago, I thought it was based on flesh damage, which it's not. It's only based on pen.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters.
It's crazy.
It's quite interesting. But yeah.
Very interested to see the fruits of that work, what comes of it, what new information we could gather. I will say I do want to mention this quickly is I feel like I might have given the flechettes a little bit too much of a hard time. So I did some more testing and I found out that all the shotguns are kind of crap except for the 153, basically, because it has some of the better stats, just a lot of various factors. Like the new one, the Benelli, its spread isn't good. It's mainly like the accuracy thing with the 153, right? Even though interesting enough, the Sega shotgun, its accuracy stat on the weapon inspect screen is worse than the 153. It performs like virtually the same, like the pellet size at X meters as you go out. The difference though is that I'm not sure about the consistency. Like the ring of pellets is the same, if that makes sense, but like where they land of your center point, I don't know that much about. But the other shotguns, like they kind of line up with the accuracy stats. So the 153 is kind of cracked, is my point. And what really makes flechettes goated, or shotguns goated, is putting the monster claw on there. The thing reduces so much recoil, it's not even funny, and it's locked behind mechanic 4, I think. So it's kind of a decent lock. I mean, you can throw on the GK02 on there, but it's not the monster claw.
That's me. I'm level 39. So
dude, the monster claw is a game changer, dude. That thing makes it really like you can fully like just spam the trigger with that thing. Low durability 153. It doesn't seem to affect accuracy. I'm not totally sure about that. Just some very light testing, which is a weird thing. I'd love to like dive into that more, but. Anywho, 153 is really goated, so you kind of want to use that in addition with flechettes. I feel like everything else is kind of like subpar. And Monster Claw is like makes it really good. Now it's like I did some testing on effective distance, and I feel like 153, you're really pushing it at 50 meters. Like it technically does like hit them. But like 1 or 2 pellets, right? And it's random. So it's like it's not ideal. But you can fire your full 9 load of flechettes and kill them. Like it's possible. But all the other shotguns really can't compete with that. So I've been running it around as a meme gun, like generic use, because it's like it's ridiculous because I'll just drop the shells for loot because they're worth like the 20 stack is worth like 2,000 rubles. Like it's worth nothing, dude. It's worth nothing. And I've been buying up a huge supply, but I've been kind of giving it a go. I feel like I might have given it a little bit of a hard time because it's not been like the most broken thing I thought it was. It's just like it's really good, but like you kind of want to have these things work in your favor, like the Monster Claw, like the 153, them being under 50 meters. That helps a lot. So. It's just wanted to sort of like clarify. Perhaps maybe I was a little too harsh on flechettes.
Yeah, I mean that's what stops it from being broken entirely, right? Is that you have to be close, and on other maps outside of on factory it's busted.
Yeah,
that's the thing. On factory it's busted, whereas other maps there's distance to take into account. So other guns are a bit better, unless you're like really careful and with your pathing and stuff. Is my take on it.
Yeah.
I just want a laser for my Benelli. I'm a simple man. Just let me put my damn lasers on my damn gun.
Shut up. You don't mod guns. This guy, I'm talking like, acts like he mod guns. Look, Giga, I played with this guy. No, I played with this guy, and he was like, yeah, I don't build guns. I was like, you what? He's like, no, I don't look at the stat screens. I just use whatever I get off players. Now, think about this for a second. Have you ever considered that the reason you got the gun off the player was maybe because they built the bad gun? I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying. I cannot imagine. I'm being like facetious here, but I cannot imagine playing this game without, min-maxing every little stat and like every little like, nook and cranny. I'm just, oh man, that's just like when I'm first starting out, like, yeah, it's overwhelming, but like once you get all the knowledge foundation, it's like, oh, I love it. Like that turns me on, dare I say.
That sounded like General Sam.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't think it's not a testament to their meta mutant that it couldn't see me in the dark corner of D2 with an impact grenade. So I'm gonna keep running that meta mutant. That was not a skill issue for them. Actually, yeah, you should have checked your corners, stupid. Right? What do they always say? Check every corner. You should have known that there was gonna be an impact flying at you in 3 seconds.
Never left peek free.
Yeah, right. You have to left peek D2, damn it.
You got me there, dude. You don't have to mod impact grenades. Damn, that's true. No,
and now I learned today I can sprint with those motherfuckers. So I'm gonna be a menace.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Shouldaville, for coming on, man. It's a pleasure having you on, and
yeah, thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah. And otherwise, what's that?
I said it's been a good one. It's been a good one. I was just slightly delayed.
Very good.
I was thinking about Shouldaville running around with impact grenades. Honestly, it's a terrifying thought.
Yeah. Screaming and VoIP like a goblin.
Oh, funny. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you all next week.
Catch you later.
It's so hard to go from like ridiculous church to serious church at the end. I just like,
yeah, it's tough.
You're nice, Bosh. I'm a totally sane individual. Yes. I didn't talk about cat girls at the beginning of this.